the International Intellectual Conversation Part Two, and I got Mo on with me. I got T here with me, and we're gonna go into a lot of discussion live. So a lot of Christians, Muslims, atheists, and other religious type people and non-religious type people can understand the breakdown what Mo bringing, what I'm bringing, and input of T and anyone else who would join this intellectual conversation. So we're gonna start off with what T was talking about God and free will, humans and other beings having free will, as of Satan himself and Lucifer or whatever. So we're gonna start off and let Mo continue to break down the free will part of God giving people free will. So you can take off from there, Mo. I'm gonna mute my mic so you can finish saying what you were saying on the free will part about free will. If you like to break that down from the beginning, so people can hear you and get a more clear understanding of what you mean by free will.
All right. Well, ultimately, it's free will, which is the determiner of good and evil. So, good is defined as aligning your will with God's will, and evil is defined as trying to create your own will against God's will. And in doing so, you determine your own fate, because again, God being a creator of will and allowing men to have their own will, didn't want to create robots, because how can you worship if you were forced, or how can you say that you love if you force somebody to worship you? It's contradictory, because in essence that is a slavery, and as soon as somebody gets the chance they will leave. But if somebody gives their will willingly to you, then that is the definition of love, because you're allowing the person to choose. You want this relationship. So God gave man free will, and he gave life to all as a free gift. And you can either just accept the gift and run free with it and do what you want, but understand that there will be a judgment of all things, and that is God's will. And I do believe in justice and righteousness. But for those who want to align their will with God, he promises even greater things than the gifts that we find in this world. And oftentimes I see that this is a pretty sad world. But at the same time, we're promised even more than what we were given. But all is given that gift of life, and all is given free will. And as I said, Satan, the adversary, all he did was corrupt us and try to get us to have our own wills. And when men are left to their own subjective wills to determine how they shall live, well, look at the world around us. And that's all I have to say.
All right, I got a question for you, Mo. Dealing with free will. Um, God, you like you say, He created and gave people free will, but as the concept that you look at God as this all powerful being that created all the universes and I'm not present, meaning as He know everything, everything even before it came in existence, He know what it was gonna be before He even created it. So with my concept of that and my thinking of that, me as a human reasoning, um, I just wanted your concept of if God know everything before it happened, like why would He even create evil in the first place and allow someone to have free will to kill a child? You know what I'm saying? Even though He say, okay, I'm gonna give you that choice to kill the child, when I already know before I created you that you were gonna kill the child. So basically, with my reasoning as a human and intelligence that I can use to reason, that God already created people to do whatever they're gonna do, and we just robots. We really have no free will, according to if you believe the concept God know everything before He even created it.
Well, it's no different than understanding. Look, if I got my 3-year-old nephew, I know that if I leave him in a room by himself and I open up a Snickers bar and I put it right there on the table, that he and I step out that room, he, as soon as I step out that room, will go over there and eat it. I know this because I know how my nephew will act. Well, if I'm capable of having this type of premonition by knowing what my nephew would do, how much more would that be with God? And because I knew my nephew was going to do that, you have to allow them to do that, because it's like you can't punish somebody or you can't hold nobody guilty until they commit the crime. Just because I know that they're going to commit the crime, I can't whoop him before I leave the room and say, "Don't you touch that Snickers bar." No, I have to allow him to do that so then I can discipline him, even though I know he's going to do it. You can't discipline him beforehand. You have to discipline him after, even though I knew what he was going to do, because it's a teaching moment. Because we coming into this universe as a spiritual and physical beings, this is brand new to us. So we have an ultimate teacher who teaches us, because within we see within our own heart, now that we have our own will, we want to serve ourselves, and it starts from an early age. We know that children are capable of knowing this, because if another kid walks up to another kid and just takes it from it, that little kid already has a sense of justice within him. Like, nah, man, you just took my toy or my cookie. I'm gonna go take my cookie back. This happens. We know that this happens from a young age, and we have to be taught. From the moment we enter into this world, we have to be raised and taught how to think, how to talk. Everything is taught to us, and then we're able to go and explore on our own. Well, it's the same way with God. It's learning and understanding that, hey, you can do what you want to do, but align yourself with God, and you will understand not only how the universe works, but understand why you feel like how you feel on the inside, because you're created in God's image. You know, you have a sense of justice, you have a sense of right and wrong. But ultimately, as you were saying that, well, God created robots. No, he didn't create robots. That's the whole point of free will. Because if he didn't give us free will, technically he would have created a bunch of creatures that would have been forced to worship him. Like, hey, you guys all just bow down to me. That's what it's going to be. No, it's not about that. What God wanted to do is have a relationship with you. He doesn't just want to command you like a big bully. He wants you to be as he is, to be righteous, to be graceful, to be loving, to be kind, to be upright, to do the right thing and to right wrongs. The same way our universe always balances itself out, we need to do the same within ourselves. And so God gives us the chance to say, hey, we want to follow you, God. I've seen the goodness in you. Let me follow you. This is my will. Or somebody can say, hey, I hate you, God. I don't want to follow you. But understand that both me or both these people, the good who align and the evil who don't, they will all die. They'll suffer the same fate. But ultimately, God, who is a just God, will judge the world. And those who are aligned with God will receive his promises. And those who are not aligned with God will receive justice. I have no issue with that. The same way, if I see somebody run out into the streets and I see somebody murder somebody, and our justice system deals with that person and says, all right, we're going to put you to death, am I going to shed a tear? No, that's what we call justice, and we all believe in that. But for anybody who doesn't believe in a God and just believe in a random universe, they can't define justice. They can't define grace. They can't define mercy. If everything is just random and everything just happened on its own, there is no good. There is no bad. There's only that which is beneficial to you or non beneficial to you. There's no righteousness. There is no evil. Everything is random. So, me doing any act can be considered random. I'm just following what the universe does.
All right. Okay, I have this to say, Mo, in contrary to what you had said about the sneaker, because we know a baby will pick up anything, not only a Snicker bar, but a baby will pick up a knife if you leave a knife on the table, being out of curiosity. So
Agree.
you being a parent or being a more wiser supervisor like God, you're not gonna put a knife on the table knowing that that child would mess with that knife. So what I'm saying is God have the senses to say, I'm not gonna put danger in my children or my creation way so they can cause harm to themselves or cause harm to what I want them to do. So you're not gonna put the knife on the table for the baby to get the knife and do damage to itself. With that said, now that brings me back to the flood. When God is the all-knowing, I'm not present. God created man and everything else, and he knew it before he brought it into existence what was going to happen. So God created man, and he know that they was going to be evil, but it seemed like he didn't know they were going to be evil because he repented that he made man and he sent a flood to kill them for their actions that he already knew what was going to happen because he foreseen it before he created it. So that's kind of a confusion on me. You know what I'm
So
saying?
so
From the Christian point of view, that's what I'm saying. From a Christian standpoint. So
so
would you like to explain that?
Yeah, so you said the Snickers bar that God wouldn't put that there, just like you wouldn't put a knife there. Well, sir, that's not that's according to you. People all over the world leave things that are dangerous around babies all the time, and they have to teach them not to touch things, not to do certain things. So, if a baby, you tell the baby, "Don't you touch that hot stove, don't you touch it," and then you leave, and that baby touches it, that baby learns why you told them not to do that. It's a learning process. That's what we are taught is cautious. Listen to those who know. You have to approach the world cautiously. And that very knife, it's not just a dangerous tool. Forgive me, it's not just a dangerous object, but it's a tool that we use. A knife can be dangerous. Yeah, a knife can take another human being's life, but a knife is used for so much more. I can cut food with it. I can cut down branches that are so I can create firewood or build a house. It's a tool. So we're not supposed to be scared of this world. We're supposed to overcome this world. So I'm not supposed to be afraid of the knife. Neither am I supposed to be afraid of the fire. I'm supposed to use it to my advantage because I am man. I am created in God's image. I am built to conquer this world. I am built to be as a God on this earth who has his own will. That is what I am. I
All
have
right.
no issue with
Uh,
that. But hold on. But as far as your statement as to why would God flood the world if he knew that this was going to happen? That's because he knew everything was going to happen. The same way he it's like a scroll that's being unveiled unto us. He already knows what the ending is. We're just playing it. We're playing our parts in it. And we all have our own free will to choose if you want to follow God or if you don't want to follow God. But the point is you don't have to be a robot. It's your choice. It's free will. Just like you right now, you can choose to believe whatever you want to believe, but that doesn't mean that what you're believing is logically true, nor does it mean that it's actually real. But you have that choice to choose. Now, truth is always going to be truth, irregardless of what anybody says or if they accept it or not. Truth is truth. It's objective. But you, on the other hand, what you're trying to say is that basically truth isn't truth, and that there can be many ways or there are many truths. But that's just not true, fam. It doesn't work like that. God knew that the flood was going to happen. Yeah, he knew it was going to happen because he knew that they were going to sin. But obviously he knew that we were going to be saved too, because there was people who were saved on the boat. That's the reason why we're still here. So you're saying, well, why would God repent? It's the same reason why we repent. We're made in his image. When you have kids and you start dealing with some hard-headed kids, you're like, man,
Sorry,
why did I
sorry to
have
interject. God does not repent, and God does not regret.
you that's what I'm trying to point that to him, brother,
And
is
the
that it's
scripture and the script, it's a mistranslation in the English Bibles. The word repent and the word regret. The actual word is sigh. It's a. I just sighed right now. I'm
exactly,
not regretting.
exactly,
okay,
It's not
but
a regret. It's
listen,
sigh.
okay,
You can
okay,
check the original
okay.
word.
Listen to this. What you're saying, though, Christian. I understand what you're saying. Even if you're saying like sigh, even God had to sigh. Why do I got to sigh when I already know what was gonna happen? That's just like I was in amaze if I got to sigh. That means I was like,
I
oh
know
boy.
that I know that my son is gonna disrespect me. He's 17 months old. I know that he's gonna tell me to shut up one day, and that will make me sigh. I know that my son will do certain stuff. It's inevitable, and I'm not an all-knowing God. But when it happens, you still sigh. You still have a reaction to it. God has a reaction to things. For every action, there's a reaction.
exactly.
I
And
don't I don't think I don't know why people just think that God is a wall of no emotion.
exactly,
That's not
exactly.
true.
Thank
Okay,
you.
but
Hold
okay,
on, hold on, hold on, brother. Let me add on. Hold
hold
on,
on. Let
brother
me
Anthony. Hold on.
let me
I just
address
want to
that,
add on
Mo.
to the back. I just want to add on to the back of what he was saying, though. It's the same way that a judge, when you go into a courtroom, a judge, a fair judge, will always enact justice in the same exact way. Does that mean that they enjoy punishing people? Doesn't mean that when you go into you can go into a courtroom and the judge can be sad, like, I don't want to do this, but my hands are tied. This is what the law says, so this is what I have to do. So the judge can sigh. A judge is not
Yeah,
emotionless.
saying
But
why did God sigh? It's like saying why was God angry, or why was there any emotion from God? I don't know why people think God is emotionless.
that's what I'm saying. Y'all got to listen to the concept of what y'all using because you only human. So you only dealing with a human perspective. Now, when you're dealing with a God, you got to go outside of your human perspective and put that perspective
No,
on God. And
but the
hold up.
humans got made with godly attributes and
So they made God a man.
godly characteristics.
So you don't
So
make
every
God
characteristic that
actually
we
human.
have, God
God have.
feels jealousy. Did you know that? Did you know
Do
God
God
feels
have sex?
jealousy?
Yeah, according to the Bible, he feels jealousy. But jealousy, why would God be jealous? Why do a
The
all
same
made
way.
a
The same
almighty
way.
creator?
The
Hold
same.
up, Mo. Hold up, Mo? Hear me out. Why do a almighty creator that has everything don't have nothing to be jealous of? Be jealous of something that the word jealous is meaning that I envy you, or I'm jealous of you because you have something that I don't have, like a,
No,
a, a specific car or characteristic that I don't have. So I'm jealous. I want that.
no,
That's
no,
what.
no, brother.
Okay, what
You're
jealousy mean then?
you're
What
mixing.
do?
Okay, I'll show you. So envy and jealousy are two different things.
Uh huh.
Envy is you envy somebody because you want what they have. Doesn't mean that you deserve what they have. You just want what they have. But when God said that he is jealous, when he created man, which he called his greatest creation, and his greatest creation, and instead of acknowledging him and saying thank you,
Starts
God, for the
worshiping a
life,
bull.
you start worshiping a rock that a
Hmm.
rock that he created, and it wasn't even a rock that you created, but a rock that he created that you shaped into an object, and you start worshiping and thinking that thing. Well, of course you're going to be jealous. The same way that if I tomorrow went onto your page, Anu, and I took all your credit for all the videos and the work you've done put in, and I put my name on it, you would be pissed off. Like, hold on, bro. That's these are my videos. I went in there and did all these interviews and these talks with these people, and now you got all these people over here giving you praise, and you ain't do a damn thing. I put in that work. Well, it's the same way. If we're made in God's image,
Hmm.
we actually have a way of understanding what He's saying. Now we can
Hmm.
understand what He's saying. Like, hey, don't judge those, don't worship those because I feel jealousy because those things don't deserve it. Well, it's easy for God to tell us not to do it, but it's much more effective to show us because now that we can
God
feel
is
it.
not like us. God is not like us. We are like God. So all these
Amen.
emotions that God has is the emotions that we have. We were made in God's image. God wasn't made in our image.
So
Does that make sense?
we can
So
understand what
Okay,
He
okay.
feels.
when you said that Anu,
I
when you
just
said
want to
that
say
Anu
something real quick, right? Hold up,
feels
before we carry
when he
on.
feels pissed
Before
off
we
or when he
carry
feels
on with this,
angry, that's a
Chris.
godly attribute.
Okay,
Sighing,
Christian.
emotion, love, anger,
Okay,
all of these things
Christian.
are godly attributes. We get these attributes
Christian.
from God. God gave us
Christian.
these
Let me
attributes.
Christian, let me say this
This is
before
why
you
we're
carry
able
on. I'm
to
gonna let you carry
communicate
on,
right
Christian.
now.
Let me do this right quick, Christian, before you go on. The word jealousy, I went to the dictionary to give y'all a definition of what jealousy is instead of just continuing to talk, because I'm the one like to prove stuff. Jealousy in the dictionary means resentment. You hear that? Resentment. All right. It's a possessionist, suspicious. It's a envy. Possession even is a form of envy. So this, I go back to my question again. Why would a all creator God that created the whole universe, created man, which is a small thing to him because it said in the Bible we like filthy rags in his eyes. So why would he be jealous of anything? Even if you worship a rock, he gave you a choice to do so. Why would I be jealous of you worshiping
It doesn't
Why
say
would
that,
you
brother.
a
why
It
would
rock?
doesn't
you be
say that.
jealous?
It
Why
doesn't
would
say
you
that
be
we're filthy
jealous
rags.
if your mom says that you are no longer her son? and calls a random man from the street and treats
I
him like
won't.
she's supposed to
That's
be treating you, would you be
so that
jealous?
no, I won't be
Yes, you
jealous.
would.
No,
You
no, I
wouldn't.
won't be jealous. That's so I will be angry, but I won't be jealous. I'll be angry. So in the
brother.
form of you saying resentment, right? So you putting resentment on that, on
So if your
jealousy,
mom
just
is
like the
babying another man like you, and she goes, "You're no longer my son. This is my son," and she treats this random stranger like it's you.
Mhm.
She won't let you in the house. She's her son. If anyone asks her, "Yeah, Anu's not my son no more. This guy's my son," you won't feel jealous.
I would be mad. I would be pissed.
But why
I
would
would
you
be
be mad?
angry
Why would you
because
be
of
angry?
What
because of
triggered
the
that anger?
treatment, because of the treatment, the action that my mom put me through. That would cause the anger. It caused anger. It won't cause no jealousy. It will cause anger
Why would it call
But
you?
what
Why
caused
why
the
would cause
anger?
you anger?
because
Why
I
would you
just
be
told you
angry?
what the treatment that I'm getting from my mom of what she doing to me. That would
What is
cause
she
the
doing to
anger.
you? What is she doing to you?
Yeah.
Exactly what Christian said, treating me like an outcast when she wasn't treating me like an outcast.
So
That where
what's
the anger come in at.
What's wrong with that? What's
what's
wrong
wrong
with
with
her
that?
choosing another man?
That's the same way with you saying that God is jealous and you putting God in a perspective as human. When I'm telling you that God
But
in your eyes and your concept is hold up way beyond
You
human.
do know
but
So
that
no, but
jealousy can spark
hold up.
hold
anger.
on.
For you to put God in a small box as a human,
No,
you may hold up. This is what I'm saying. You Christians, when you Christians always trying to define something, you cannot try to put God in a Christian concept. And that's what you're doing. You put them in a Christianity human concept.
no,
But
sir.
you
Let me
also hold on, let me finish talking,
No, it's the other
Mo.
way
go ahead.
around,
Go ahead.
bro.
Go ahead.
But
Go
you
ahead, brother.
also
Misunderstanding.
put him in a but you also put him in a concert in a concept as he's the almighty over the whole universe, but then you bring him down to a low level as a man being jealous of a man worshiping a rock when he gave you the choice to do
So
so.
so
And then
so so
hold up.
why is
When
it
he gave
okay? Why is it okay to feel jealousy and not anger,
why it's okay to feel
or the other
jealousy
way
and not
around?
angry. I didn't say either way it's okay to do nothing. You asked me a question and I
So
told you a question based
so
on
so a
your
god, to
analysis
be
of
a
what you were
god,
saying.
must have no emotion, not happy,
The
not
in the in
angry,
the
not
in the
It's
sad,
like,
not
brother,
in the
no
way that y'all
emotionless.
put see
Anu, Anu,
that's
you
what I'm
gotta
trying to tell
listen.
y'all the two concepts that y'all
How
got.
can
Anu,
Y'all
you
hold
react
on,
to
hold on,
stuff
Anu,
without no emotion?
Anu. This is because you got to understand what Chris is trying to point out to you. You got to understand. uh, Is he's trying to say you're treating God as if he's emotionless. So it's like saying, why would God repent
Be
doing
angry
things if
for?
why would it be angry? Hold on, hold
Let
on,
me
hold on.
go
Hold on.
ahead, go ahead.
You're saying why would God be angry or repent doing something? It's like you can ask the opposite. Why would God be joyous that we do anything if he already knew that we were going to do it?
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Let me show you because you dealing with God as in the concept as a human, right? And then you
It's the
separate
other way
God
around.
from. Hold on, I'm finna show you. Let me show you two parts of how you
Humans are
human.
like God.
So humans, God have sex.
No, 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 no. What your problem is
Okay,
what you're
then. So
also making a mistake. Hold
let
on.
me.
Let me show you where you're making a mistake though. You're saying that we're trying to define God within human terms. Brother,
Mm.
everything we know is defined within human terms because we
Okay,
can
so let
only
me. So let me ask you.
hold on, because we can only relate to those things that we know. If we don't know something, we don't know how to relate to it or
So
understand it
how?
until hold on, until we know it. And once we know something, then that means that it's related to us because we know it. So if I'm going to try to describe something to you, I cannot describe it to you with using terms or ideas that you don't know. You have to first understand my terms before you can understand what I am trying to say. So when the same way, if I am talking as a grown man to another, if I'm in a lab, if I'm in lab with another person, if we're going to be talking about let's say molar math, or we're talking about anything that's having to deal with within the terms of chemistry,
Or
I'm
even
going
if
to
you're
talk
talking to a child, bro.
hold on. This is what I'm about to say, brother. If I'm in there talking to a lab partner, he's going to understand all the terms that I am using. But then
Mm.
if I go home to my baby nephew, I can't talk to my nephew the same way I was talking to the guy in the lab.
Exactly.
I have to break my language down so that way the child understands me, because the child only knows a limited. So now I have to change how I interact with this child so the child can understand me. And the child's
Mm,
only going to understand what the child relates to. So
mm,
me trying to relate to my God, I am that child. I can only relate to that God in the way that I understand, which are the
mm-hmm,
human terms that I use. I won't understand God in God's language because God is beyond me. He
mm.
has to lower himself down to me in order for me to understand him. That's the reason why he uses terms that we know, because he knows this on an infinitely higher level than we do.
It's like when you tell a
All
baby,
right.
"Oh,
All right.
daddy,
Hold up. Hold
daddy's
up. Hold up.
upset
Hold
now.
up. Hold
Daddy's sad. Daddy's gonna cry." Like you speak to a baby like, "Oh, I'm gonna cry. I
up.
feel
Okay.
upset
So
now."
so
Like stuff like
so
that for a
so
baby to
your God.
understand that you're
So
truly hurt. And when
so
God says
your
that He
same
feels
God.
jealous, we understand what that is because we go through
Man,
jealousy.
my
But I
my
try to
God,
explain
your
that to
God
you,
feels jealous.
but you say
That's
that
why
you
people
don't
got
feel
different
jealousy.
gods. That's why people got different beliefs. Somebody else God don't get jealous, but your God get jealous. So if
Brother,
your
but there's
God
only
get
one
jealous,
God though.
hold up, Mo, you just
Go
had
ahead.
a whole,
I
you just had the
apologize.
flow.
I
Let me get the
apologize.
flow.
I
Don't.
apologize, brother. I
Now, if
apologize.
your God get jealous, that's your God. You can't force your jealous God on somebody who don't have the same concept as you, because you reading from a book, and that's what your interpretation of that God. So everybody do not have the same God, and that's why you have different denominations of different religions and prospects of belief,
May
just
I ask
because
you a
of what
question?
you saying. But hold up, let me finish what you were
Okay.
saying
Go
now.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now the same God that created nature, that nature don't have no bearings of your color, rich or poor, your God or concept of God, but it will kill you, whether you doing good or bad, working or not. When a tornado come, it'll knock down your house or my house, and I'm atheist or you're not an atheist. That's what I'm saying. So, and that God created that tornado. So,
Can I
what
ask
you
you a
think
question?
about that? What no? What did you think about that God and that prospect of creating these tornadoes and hurricanes and all of these eruptions with you know what I'm saying, with volcanoes and all this stuff that killing people?
Well,
That
brother,
God, okay,
if that's what your question is, then you have to go to the root of that question then if because there's been death. I mean, death has been happening ever since Adam it has been
but I'm
around.
saying
Hold on, hold on.
but you
But
got
death,
innocent people getting
but
killed. That's what I'm
I
saying. It's
hear
not
you.
just a death though. It's
I hear you. I hear you. But listen to what I'm trying to say, brother. People have been dying since Adam, and they've died in 10 million different ways. People got eaten by lions. Some people have been stabbed to death. Some people fell off cliffs. Some people have heart attacks. There's million ways to die, but it seems that you're saying that certain ways of dying is unacceptable, while other ways
no,
of
but no,
dying.
I put this all together with your God. If your God got feelings, if your God can have feelings to be jealous, why is your God not being jealous that the hurricane and you know, tornadoes and stuff killing people, innocent
So
people, his
I
children
asked
that
you.
had nothing to do with whatever, but he like, okay,
I just
I'm
asked you
jealous.
a question though. You just so I'm asking you, you're saying that it was bad that they died in that way, as if there is a difference in between ways die. People die in 10 million different ways. So what you're saying is that it's acceptable to die in some ways and not acceptable to die in other ways. So it's okay to
If
die.
God
So
got
it's a
feelings,
hold on.
if
So
God
it's
got
okay to
feelings,
die
it
from a
should
heart
be
attack. Listen.
accepted.
So it's okay to die from a heart attack, but it's not okay to die from a hurricane or a tornado.
I mean, a heart attack is a natural thing because that's on that person from
Tornadoes
the
are
source
natural
that.
too.
Hold up. But hold up, listen to what I'm saying though. But it's a natural thing that some people have no control over, or
I don't have
control
control
over.
over tornadoes neither.
No, I said, but you have a control sometimes over how you treat your body and what you eat and how you exercise.
That
So
has
you
nothing
do
to do
have
with it, though,
control.
brother. People die from aneurysm. You can die from you could be the healthiest person in the world and die
I
from an
didn't say that
aneurysm.
you okay, but it's a slight chance though. It's a
What do you mean
slight
a slight
chance.
chance? Exactly, brother.
It's a
Listen, there's a slight chance of dying in any way. I could die from a heart attack, an aneurysm. I can slip in a bathtub and hit my neck
My
and
thing,
break my neck.
my
Look,
thing was this though, Mo.
so
My thing, yeah, you're right.
is there an
But I'm saying
acceptable okay, so
if God is a caring God,
is there an acceptable death and a non-acceptable death? Because I'm
of
trying to
course,
understand where
if
your
you got a
standard is.
caring God, yes. If you got a
Why?
caring and thanking God, if you got a God that have feelings, do you want your baby to die? Mo, do you want your son or your daughter to die in a
They're gonna die
hurricane or
one day.
something?
I know my kids are gonna die
Of
one
course
day.
we're gonna die,
Unless
but do
my
you
Lord,
want them to die, or do
unless my
you?
Lord, listen, unless the Lord comes in their lifetime, I know my kids will die in some
We
specific
all
way.
gonna die,
I'm
Mo.
gonna die. Exactly. So I'm not understanding what your standard is, because
But I'm
you're
saying,
saying that some
we
ways of dying is okay while other ways of dying is not. So what if somebody drowns in a pool?
it is. I mean, it is. I mean, it is. Because if do you want somebody to come just shoot your mother in the head by
Well,
robbing her? That's
that
the
wouldn't
wrong
be
way to die,
God. That
bro. I
wouldn't be
mean,
God doing it. That would be another human being doing it, though. So again, that's not natural neither. That's not a
so
natural death.
why do your God not step in if He care about your mom and she's a
Yeah,
Christian lady?
the
Hold
concept
on,
that you're saying is, if
the
God knew
concept,
that human
right,
beings were going to be
right,
bad,
absolutely.
why did He
And He's a
create
caring
them?
God.
That's
And
the
He got
question that He
emotion
wants
and
to
He know
ask.
this thing.
If
Okay.
If
humans
I'm
are bad,
okay,
if God knew that Hitler was going to do that, why did He allow Hitler to exist? That's what He wants to know. Why did God allow evil on planet Earth? And it's a question that many atheists ask.
no,
Pretty simple question to
it
answer
ain't
because
about no
God gave us
atheist.
free will.
It's about the concept that you guys have a God. That's why people ask these questions. Just like you guys are saying that God have a good heart and He have a heart to get mad and jealous. But if we humans, just like you got some humans that got good heart and bad heart. When some people robbing somebody and you got a hero, that man got a good heart to try to stop that. He may even get himself killed just trying to stop a negative guy from robbing your mother. But why you got this all creator that created this little man that with this little heart trying to be a hero to stop this, but he got the power to stop it, but he won't even stop it.
But
That's the
you don't
concept
know
of what
what's
I'm
in the
saying.
hero's heart. You're calling him a hero. But what if that guy is actually a bad person and the reason why he wants to intervene is just to harm another human being and and he saw the perfect chance.
And he saw the perfect chance of doing a good thing. So basically he just trapped in two dimensions where he doing bad and good. Cause he just want to
Exactly.
harm that person,
So
and just harming that person is freeing that
So
lady from being killed or robbed.
now
you think that God is wrong. You think every bad that happens in the world is God's fault because he allowed it, because he's all knowing and he knows from
That's
the
right.
beginning to the
Because
but
end.
but brother
yes,
brother
And every
because
evil
he's
that
the
happened is
root,
God's
because he's
fault
the
because he
root of
allowed it
it.
to happen.
but brother
Yes,
Christian, what
because
let me
he's the root of it. He's the
hold
root
on, hold
of
on.
evil.
He's saying that it's the root of evil, but he's again he keeps missing the point of what I'm trying to point out to him. Evil is defined as going against God's word. So now the ultimate
God
question.
say that
Hold
He
on,
created
hold
evil.
on,
So how can you
hold
be
on,
going
brother
against
Anu.
something He
Brother
created?
Anu, hold on, brother. Let's get to the root of the question. The root of, you're not asking the question right. The real question is what is good and what is bad? Okay? What is good is a spiritual term. The word good is a spiritual word. There is no such thing as good in the universe, okay? If you're talking about good or bad is defined as what? Well, we as Christians define good or bad as either A, good, you are aligning yourself with what God said is good, or B, you are going against what God said is good. But it's not an abstract of idea or universal idea of what is good or bad. You see, each religious system that you go and depend upon, brother, has their own definition of what is good or bad. This is why we know that all of these religions are incompatible with one another, because you would have inconsistent beliefs, because one belief tells you to do something and another belief tells you to do another, which are logical contradictions, meaning they both possibly can't be true. Only one of them can possibly be true, or they can both be wrong, but they both can't possibly be true. So if that is the case, now we have to define what is good or bad. So when we look into the scriptures, we get a definition from God Himself what is good or bad according to Him, since He is the God of the universe. You shouldn't steal, you shouldn't kill, and so on and so forth. But you, as somebody who doesn't believe in a Christian God, let's say you don't believe in a God. Let's say we're dealing with an atheist. Well, an atheist can't say something is good or bad. You can say it's beneficial or non beneficial. Because when I examine nature, I see that a lion, when he takes over a new herd or forgive me, takes over a new pride and he scares off the old lion, I see that lion go in there and he kills off all the baby cubs. He wants to kill off the old line so he can establish his own and he can have all the unlimited sex he can have because it's beneficial to him. Plus, all the female lions will go hunt for him, and he has to wait for them to catch the food, and he gets to go and eat. So if I'm going to define what's good or bad by what I observe in nature, now we're going into a real slippery term, because again, we're getting back into what's beneficial for me and what's beneficial for you. So if I'm a big dude and somebody's a small person, but that small person has a lot, I can go and take what they got because it's beneficial to me. It might not be beneficial to them, but it sure as hell would be beneficial to me. Can't nobody say that's good or bad. We live in a random ass universe. Everything happened by accident anyway. So what the hell is good or bad? I'm gonna do what I can in my short amount of time, and I'm gonna live life to its fullest. I'm gonna eat, get drunk, have all the sex I can have, and I'm gonna live life. And if I gotta take it from the next small person and step on them or step on 1,000 people, can't nobody say you're wrong. I'm just following the universe. I see lions do it. I see it in nature. This is just following nature. Okay, so now we got what nature's standard of good or bad is. Well, then we can go into Islam. Well, what's Islam's standard of good or bad? Well, Muhammad gave his last message in Surah 9, and he says to go out and to kill anybody who isn't a Muslim. In Surah 929, this was his last revelation. And we know that everything before it was abrogated because the Islamic scholars tell us this. So the last message was to make the world Islamic. That is what is good. So when I see ISIS out here in the streets trying to cut people's heads off, trying to establish the Sharia, which is what Islam is about, I say they are actually fundamentalists. They're following what Muhammad did, and they're following what he said. And according to Islam, what they are doing is good. It's not bad. It's good according to Islam. But somebody on the outside might say that's not beneficial to me. But me as a Christian, or Christian Malik as a Christian, can say, hey, that's not good according to God. Our God says that that is not good, because you, Sir Anu, treat the word good as if it's just a monolith, as if everybody accepts, oh, that's good. Nah, fam, it don't work like that. You have your standard of good, but that's because you accept a subjective understanding of good. So you
Is
go
the
into all
standard
these.
of good subjective or objective?
Exactly. That's the question. What is good, and is it subjective or objective?
Okay, listen to this here, Mo. Good is something what we can learn from instance, right? Because a baby, when a lion or a lioness have a cub, right? Do she eat her cub? Even though she's a natural animal eater, do she eat her cub? No, she do not eat her cubs. She protect the cub. She go out and hunt and bring food back for her cub. So we learn what's good and bad from just off instance. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you said that. You said the lioness will protect her cub. So let's use your logic. How come then, when the new lion comes in to take over the pride, those females don't protect all those baby cubs? They'll literally sit there and watch the new male lion slaughter every single one of
Yep,
them
yep, yep. It happens all the time in the
all the
Lion
time.
Kingdom.
So what are you talking about? So if you're saying we're going to look at nature for good, I see that as good. How about that? So I see something that you got. I see that you got a beautiful wife. I see that you got, so you hey, your wife is beautiful, your house is beautiful. Let me come into your house, kill you, kill off all your kids, so that way I can start up my own line through your wife and take over your house, your pride. That's what I observe in nature. So you're sitting there telling me that, well, no, she'll protect her cubs. No, they don't. When the male lion comes in, they will watch the new male lion slaughter all of them, and they won't put up a fight. So
Why
if
they
you
won't?
if
Okay, hold up, Mo. Let's
okay,
okay. Let's see. What's the reason why she won't put up a fight? Why? Do you
because
know why?
she knows that this new line is going to establish his line. The reason why he's killing off those cubs is because he's not going to take care
Yeah,
of another man's babies.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, I'm establishing my line
Oh,
because it's
oh,
survival of the fittest. I'm the
Yeah,
okay,
strongest. His
okay,
line is
okay,
weak.
yeah.
okay. So let's look at the war.
The
Now,
dad usually
hold up, Chris.
tries to fight, and if the dad loses the fight, his children must go as well.
Hold
Exactly.
on. Okay, so hold up, Christian. Ain't that in the form of what your God did in the Bible when He told the Israelites to kill off everybody, even from the baby,
Nope.
all the way from the man? Yeah, He did. He said kill them all off, and they didn't kill them off, so they got punished because He didn't do. They didn't do what they God told them to do. He said destroy the whole line of them, even from the baby, and they
So
didn't do it.
I can
No,
respond to
God
that
did.
if you would
God
like.
didn't.
I
The
can respond.
evil. God didn't. The evil people did. And
Yeah.
God
So
said, because you fell away from me, this is what's going to happen. It's like if I tell my son, don't touch this lighter because you're gonna get burned, and then my son touches it, he gets burned. I said, I told you so. But God is so good that them people who harmed the babies, God went back and got them and destroyed them.
also these Canaanites that you're trying to refer to, we have to understand these very beings that the teachings and the practices that they were reviving were what caused the flood in the first place. Hence why God said destroy everything, kill their livestock. See, a lion, when the lion, and also your comparison is of apples and oranges. When the lion
Uh,
comes in,
yeah.
when the lion comes over, he doesn't kill the females. You know, he just kills the old male. He doesn't even kill the old male lion. He usually sends him off running, and the only
Yeah.
ones that get killed are the babies. But the
Yeah.
female lionesses, they get taken over. The
Yeah.
example that you gave wasn't nothing left. Nothing was spared. They didn't have nothing to gain from it. They were there to destroy it because God had set judgment against those people.
Yeah.
And also,
Re-
you keep trying to
Reasons
show
being, we
as if
know. Just quick, sorry, brother Mo. Just quick, yeah. We know in Leviticus, if a man has sex with an animal, that man is put to death, and the animal is no longer kosher, and the animal gets put to death as well. So in these civilizations, these people they were doing bestiality with animals. So the majority of these animals, probably all of these animals, were corrupted through sexual nastiness.
Okay,
also
Moses,
hold on.
Moses, hold up,
Also,
Moses and
I
Chris,
have
hold up. I got some,
I
I
just
got
wanted to
something for you
finish. I
though.
just wanted to finish my point though. But
Go
what
ahead
I
and
was
finish
trying to
your point, but I'm coming in next because I got a
okay,
big point to
I
prove to
got
show
you. I
y'all, both
got
of
you.
y'all.
I got you. Well, the point that I'm trying to get across too is this. When you're talking about the scriptures, God places judgment on people, including Israel. It's not that he's an hypocrite. He judged Israel the same way he judged the rest of the world. But as you read in the scriptures, you'll often see that there's people committing evil acts, and God doesn't just send an instantaneous judgment upon them. He offers them mercies, and they deny him. Many times you read that God is getting ready to destroy people, but God holds his hand back because he says that their evil hasn't yet filled up. He's
Hmm.
allowing it to fill up. He's giving them a chance to turn or change their ways. And once they've reached the point of reprobateness where there's no turning back, then God sends a judgment upon them. The same way when Israel would go against God, do you think God would then be like, no, I love you, Israel. You guys can get away with it, but the rest of the world will pass judgment on them? Hell no. God put the same judgment on them too and said, I'm about to scatter all of y'all because even you who know God goes against God, showing God doesn't play favorites, but he's fair and just because God is a just God. He passes punishment the same way that you, if somebody does wrong to you, you expect justice. So why would you expect any less from our God? And also, if we live in a random universe, you can't even explain justice neither. There is no such thing as justice because there is no right or wrong. You can't do a wrong deed. Everything is random anyways.
All
Where's
right,
the justice for them
let
lion
me,
cubs that died?
hold up. I see. I told Christian I was gonna come in when you're done. Now check this out for you and Christian. When you go on Exodus chapter 19, verse 5, it showed that your God is racist. Why? Because he chose these people above all people. And we know that he's dealing with specifically one group of people in this whole Bible. Throughout the Bible, he got them, he punishing them and rewarding them and punishing them. So when you
That
read
was the
and
cut. That what you're talking
so
about the Israelites?
Let, let him finish,
so
brother.
he's
But
a racist.
let him
He's
finish,
a
brother Christian.
racist.
I'm right there with you, though. I know what you're about to
He's a
say.
racist. He's biased. Your God is biased. So how can a God that created everything be biased and just choose one group of people above all
Chose the
other people?
Gentiles. Chose everyone.
No, not right here. That ain't what he said in Exodus chapter 19, verse 5.
May I respond to the racism point? Because you're saying that God is racist, but
Okay, hold
again,
on.
hold on.
Can you read that though
Okay, go
before you
ahead.
can you read that to the people though? Or do you
I'll
want
read
me
it.
to read it?
If you want to,
Okay,
or I
fine. Go
can,
ahead, read
whoever
it.
you want.
We're
You
aware of
what?
it.
What was the chapter?
Exodus
Uh-huh.
chapter 19, verse 5. Can you read that?
Yeah, Exodus 19, verse 5.
Now you
Um.
tell me why your God say this and why do he do this? Because he showed the illustration
Okay.
throughout the Bible,
All right. So
and that's
I'll
what he
read it.
mean what he said.
I'll read from 3 to 6. just so we get concept. But you said it's in 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's read from
Well,
3
you
and
usually
6.
must. Okay, but the number five is specifically saying what it's saying. You ain't got to go
Yeah.
all the way from 3 to 6,
No,
but
no,
you can
no,
go to
brother.
three. Go ahead,
You
go to three. Go to
okay?
three.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Okay. Okay.
go to three to
It
five.
says,
It's just
and
to elaborate on the context. That's why he chose to
Okay,
go a
go
little
ahead,
bit back.
go ahead. I say
all
go
right.
back then. It don't matter. That verse still stands what it says.
I have no problem with that. I just, like I
Yeah,
Okay,
said,
yeah.
go
for
ahead.
concept, as the brother was pointing
I say
out.
go ahead.
So, all right, and it says, and Moses went up to God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a particular or peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall
Right.
be and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. I'm glad you showed that to us, brother. That's a beautiful verse, because you have I think you're missing the caveat, because God said specifically, he says, that you have seen, or forgive me, he
He
says,
missed
now
the if
therefore,
and then. He
yeah,
missed the if
if
and then in little words
I
like
didn't
that.
miss
He's just
nothing,
looking at.
exactly,
bro.
he says, now
Yeah, you
therefore,
did.
I didn't miss
so he says,
nothing.
now
I pointed
now
out a verse
therefore,
to you when he said you will be above all people.
no, no,
You
no,
can't.
brother.
No one,
Because
no, bro. No
Israel,
one created
Israel,
that.
listen, listen, exactly. They're going to be above all people because they're the ones who know the true God. And that was the whole point. He was to bring the world to jealousy. But it's exactly why we read in the scriptures also that if any man comes unto you, any man comes unto you and clings unto you and says, hey, he recognizes that you have God and circumcise themselves along with you and hold the Sabbaths, they shall be as one who was born in the land. That if anybody comes and joins themselves to you because they recognize that you have God, you're to treat them no different than anybody who was born in the land. They will be your brother. Literally, they will be your brethren as somebody who is a native born, because God was using Israel to show the world. That's the reason why God punished them whenever they sinned, because he's like, look, I'm using you to teach the world, not to be like the world. Hence, why he was using Israel and ultimately fulfilling through Christ. Now the Gentiles are also grafted in as well, because the Jews were incapable of holding that position. Now we're all capable of being kings and priests. Why? Because of Christ is the king and the priest who now justifies us. It doesn't matter if you're born as an Israelite or not, because God does not care if you're an Israelite or not, because God cares if you have a circumcised heart rather than a circumcised penis. You understand?
So let me address that what you said just then, Mo. You said now that we, so you don't consider yourself as the Jew, the original who they call the Israelite. Do you see that as someone else like the Jews who claim to be the chosen people, or do you see yourself a part of them, or now you are a part of them because you became a Christian and you got a circumcised heart? Are
Brother,
you the
I
original
I
Israelite?
understand.
I'm asking
Listen,
you that.
I understand my Hebraic roots. I know who I am. I don't have to, and I don't have to jump through hoops like these Hebrew Israelites does. I speak a Semitic language. I can show you the ancient artifacts that go to the first temple. I can show you the people and the traditions. It's not an argument, and it's not something that's even a discussion. This is just known. But I don't count on that for my salvation. My salvation is not based on whether I am a Jew or a Greek. The point is this though, that if I am a Hebrew or a Jew, that means that it was my people who put Christ on the cross, meaning that it was my people who denied him and my people who were scattered, which means that I am guilty just like them. If I am a Gentile and I am not a Hebrew, that means that we did not know who he was, and that this one who came unto us was of a different people, but his own people denied him. And therefore, both, if whether I am a Hebrew or I am a Greek, I am saved in the exact same manner. So the roots of who I am is irrelevant. The point of our belief is to know that you're not saved by your blood, you're saved by the blood of Christ. You're saved by his righteousness because he was the one who was righteous. Israel isn't righteous. There isn't a damn thing that's righteous about Israel. All of the prophets failed. Every single one of them sinned in one way or another, and all of the prophets are dependent upon Christ the same way I am. So if the prophets were prophesizing about Christ before he came, and I'm blessed to be alive in the time after he came, my faith is no different than theirs. We are all dependent upon the Messiah, meaning that it doesn't matter what works I do with my hand or if my penis is circumcised or anything. It's if I am saved in Christ is all that matters. If you're not saved in Christ, nothing else is relevant.
Okay, so I got a question for you, Mo. Um, you say Christ blood, right? Did
Amen.
Christ know that he was gonna die before he came to the earth? Did he knew like because you put it as the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and Holy Ghost. So because you say in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, which was Christ. Now,
Amen.
if you say Christ was in the beginning, that means he already know his mission that he had came to earth to die for our sins, right?
Yeah, of course. That was the whole
Okay,
purpose
no,
of him coming down here in the
I
first
just
place.
wanted to. Okay, so that was his purpose. So why, when it was his time to die, he even asked his father, "Can you remove this cup away from me?" And he crying, and he's afraid, running because he was afraid of death. And he
Well,
asked twice. He asked twice, "Father, can you remove this cup?" And we know that cup was the cup of death, what he was talking about. So why would he be asking his father to remove death from him when he came down here for death for us, to
this is
remove our sins?
I think, and you know what? I think this is one of the most profound and most important verses within the scriptures, because it is in this verse we discover Christ's true humanity. See, if he wouldn't have done that, you had many people throughout time who you have to understand, in the early Christian church, there were many groups who were so far into the divinity of Christ that they went into the heresy of denying his very human essence, meaning that he was pure God. And it was the Christians who had to remind them all the time, like, no, he is God man, that he took on the fullness of man. And this man who now, this God who now took on the form of a full man, who feels pain, who feels hunger, who felt tiredness, who felt all the things that we feel, now is pleading for his life the same way that you or I would. It only enhances his humanity, showing that he loved his very life. And also, this very God who now has taken on the essence of a man, who has never been separated from his father or from the spirit in death, for all of eternity, is going to experience something for the first time. It does not surprise me that he would say such a thing, knowing that for the first time in eternity, he will be cut off momentarily from his father and his spirit, who he has been with for eternity. It just further proves what we believe, that God took on the fullness of man, that God himself was able to put on our flesh and feel my infirmity, that God taking on my flesh would plead for his life the same way I would, that God would pray to the Father the same way that I am supposed to. Christ was the perfect man in birth and in death. And if I can live a life as he did, then hey, I all my dreams would become true. But I know that I'm an epic failure. But if I can even try to grab a piece of that essence and be saved in his precious name, that's the only goal right there, brother. But that verse only further proves that he was human, that he did plead for his life the same way that you and I would. Because if he didn't plead for his life, then that means that he didn't care about his humanity. It wasn't nothing to him. But he did care about his flesh the same way that we care about our flesh, the temple that we are now living in, that it is a precious gift of God, that we should honor it and always love God and thank him for it. So I have no issue with this verse here, brother.
So let me ask you this, Mo. This ties into what I had said. With him asking his father to remove death away from him. Now, accordingly to biblical terms, with him on the cross, can you translate what he mean, Eli, Eli, and so forth, about they saying that he's saying, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" What does that actually mean by he saying you have forsaken me? Can you explain that?
Yes. Well, my God is a reference to David, and all of the Hebrews, or forgive me, the Jews around him, would have recognized exactly what he was doing. Um Christ, David prophesied exactly what was going to happen to Christ, word for word, about them parting his garments, that they are piercing him, that they pierced Christ on the cross. Matter of fact, let me give you the exact psalm, and let's see if this event. Hold on, hold on.
I know
Okay,
exact songs what
so
you talking about,
but
Mo.
brother,
But at the
hold
same
on,
time, hold on,
hold
no, no,
on.
no. I just want to say this. I'm not finna, I'm gonna let you go ahead and finish. But I'm saying that was an experience that David went through. David went through the same, so-called crucifixion that Jesus went through. That
Okay,
wasn't nothing
well,
about David, foretelling anything about Christ.
well, we have
That's something actually David went through himself. So
Psalm,
that
but
yes,
understand this. This is a
David
psalm
actually
of
got
David.
crucified.
David was never crucified. We know David was never crucified because crucifixion is a Roman practice during the
No,
time
no,
of
it's not.
brother.
No, it's
Nobody
not.
else in the world did crucifixions. If you can show me
Are you?
evidence of anybody who did a crucifixion outside of the Romans, who created the crucifixion as a way of torture, this was a Roman practice that was exclusively practiced by the Romans. Now, if you're, this is actually, and this is historical. This is not me saying this.
That's
The only
okay. I'm gonna
people in the
prove it
world,
to you. You want me to
okay,
prove it to you? So I'm gonna prove it to
okay,
you.
prove it to me. And so, as I was saying, David was never crucified. We know that David lived on beyond Psalms 22. He lived, he had a long life. Matter of fact, there was a lot that went on in David's life beyond this psalm. David was never crucified, nor was he never killed in this manner. The Psalm 22 is a prophecy. And if you listen to what the prophecy says, it is only a prophecy about Christ. It says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me? And from the words of my roaring, oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but thou hearest not, and in the night season am not silent. It says, but thou art holy, O thou inhabitest the praises of Israel. Our father trusted in thee. They trusted, and thou didst deliver them. They cried unto thee, and thou was, and were delivered. They trusted in thee, and were not confounded. But I am a worm, and no man, a reproach of men, and despised of the people. It says, all they that see me laugh at me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, and they shake their heads, saying, he trusted on the Lord that he would deliver him. Let him deliver him, seeing he is delighted in him. Is this, I'm going to pause right there. Is this not what the Jews said to Christ when he was upon the cross, saying, you trusted in your God and you did so much for your people, but your God won't come deliver you? But let's continue on. In verse 9, it says, but thou art, he took me out of the womb, and thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mother's breast. I was cast upon thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mother's belly. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset around me. They gaped upon me with their mouths, and as a raving and a roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of its joint. My heart is like wax; it is melted in the midst of my bowels. My strength is dried up like the potsherd. My tongue is cleaved to my jaw, and thou hast brought me to the dust of death. For the dogs have compassed me, and the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I may tell into Christ. They parted his garments, they pierced him, and they crucified him. Brother, this has never happened to David. This is a psalm. This is a prediction. This is a prophecy of what is to come. And the same thing happened to Christ. Hence why his tongue cleaved to his mouth. He was thirsty, and they offered him what? Vinegar. They didn't even give him water. They gave him the strong vinegar. So all of these things that you're trying to point to always point back to Christ. Every single one of them. But
So
ultimately, but
Mo. Let me say this, Mo, right quick, cause I'm still looking up my information on what I'm gonna prove you wrong on about David, because David went through his own crucifixion. That ain't the way he died, but that's the way what happened with David for being a homosexual.
You said
Okay.
what?
Yes, David was a homosexual, and I have to
Bruh,
prove
this
that.
dude,
I'm gonna
this
prove
kid,
that to you too. I'm gonna prove that to you. Calm down. We got plenty
just
of time to
makes
prove all this stuff.
claims, man. And you still haven't
Ain't no
even
claim.
defined.
This all can be proved biblically, brother. You
You
just
still
ain't
haven't,
read it.
brother. You still
But
haven't
okay,
defined to us what is good or bad. I'm still waiting on that. So before we
bro,
go into that,
you good and bad is
what is good or
determined
bad?
as listen, hold up. Good and bad,
I hear you.
good is just a word and bad is just a word like positive and negative, right?
No, they're not
Like
just words.
neutron and
Positive
hold up,
and
yeah, it's
negative
like neutron and
imply.
protons, right? Like neutrons and protons, right? We use them
No,
in the same form. Yes, I'm just showing
no.
you how you break them down in different sections of how we understand them.
I'm
So when
saying,
you
fam, that's
say
not a good analogy. That's what I'm trying to point to you.
okay,
Good and
so
bad and
if
negative.
I say bad, if hold on, if I say bad and I put bad with evil, you can't automatically just say bad and evil are the same thing. You can't say that.
They are
Those
because
are not
bad. Listen. Bad and evil and good are all spiritual terms. You can't use the word good outside of spiritual discussions. You
oh,
can
oh,
say that which is beneficial or that which ain't beneficial. But if you're going to define the word good, you have to define it from what standpoint you are talking about. I believe in one objective good because I believe that there is one objective truth, that there is God. But you're saying that there are many objective truths because you'll accept anything from any book. It sounds like you'll accept
no,
Islam. You'll
no.
accept.
So
You'll hold on,
so
hold on.
no,
You'll hold
I
on,
studied
hold
all of
on.
that. You can't
Let me
tell me
see.
what I felt because you don't know
Okay.
me. You just
Well
making
then,
your concept. That's why I say
well,
you
well
do
then,
just be
what is
talking,
good or
and then you
bad?
try to force something that you trying to make it true when it's not. It's just
What
coming
is
out your
good or
mouth as a
bad?
concept. I'm
What
trying to
is good
break
or
it
bad?
down to you. You let me. When you put good, I mean when you put bad as evil, that don't go together because have you ever heard a mother say you've been a bad boy today? Did she mean as he been an evil boy today? When she say you've been a bad boy in school today, do that mean he been a evil boy in school today?
What is again? What is
No,
evil?
answer
Evil
my
is going
question, bro.
against the
Because you
word of
just said
God.
that bad and
That's what
evil
I'm
is
trying to. I'm answering
bro.
your question. You
Okay, but
said
I'm just saying,
if you were evil at school,
bad
you
and
could say the
evil do
same
not
thing.
always mean the same thing. You can't compare them as being the same because bad and evil do not mean the same thing.
How
That's
do
what
you
I'm
get
trying to
that?
tell you.
How do you get that?
Because I just used it in a sentence for you. When a woman or a mother said to her child,
Uh
"You've been a
huh.
bad boy in school today," that didn't mean he was
And what makes it
evil.
bad? Hold on. What makes it bad?
Okay,
What makes it
bad.
bad is
A bad was he wasn't paying attention in school. That he didn't want to listen to his
okay.
teacher. That don't
So
make him
so
evil though.
okay. So
That
now
do not make him
let's
evil.
test your knowledge. Let's test your knowledge or your strategy. So according to the Christian scriptures, let's look at what God would say. If you were to say that a kid was being bad at school today, yeah, you can say that boy was being evil in school. Let me show you how. Because God tells
Okay.
you you are to honor
You
your
gotta use
father.
the
Listen,
dictionary and you
you are
look
to
up bad
honor.
and evil.
Listen, you are to honor your father and your mother. So if a little boy goes to school today and he acts bad, but and the reason why we know he's being bad is because he's being disruptive or he's not doing what the teacher says. But your parents told you, listen to what the teacher says, meaning that when your parents told you to do something, you didn't honor what your mother or your father said because they said, listen to your school teacher, but you're dishonoring your school teacher, meaning you're dishonoring your parents. Meaning that if you do not honor your
That
father and
don't
your
make that
mother,
evil
that is
though.
evil. That is evil. You are not honoring your father and your mother. That is one of the 10 commandments. Honor thy father and thy mother, because if you break these, this is what is evil. So it is
Okay,
evil.
now here it is. Now I'm glad I always go to the dictionary to break down what people are always trying to put in their concept of what they want people to believe what it is. The word bad in the dictionary says this what bad mean in the dictionary. Hold up, I'm gonna give it to you. This is what bad. I want to read this to you, bro, so you can get an understanding from something where you get the definition from and not your own definition. So I'm gonna read this to you like this. It say in the dictionary, bad. It say not good, not as it should be, inadequate or unfit, unfavorable, news, or rotten or spoil, incorrect or faulty. So it don't really give no misbehaving, mischievous, harmful, severe, sorry, distress. He feels bad about it, offensive, anything bad.
Again,
So
brother, you're trying to use a secular understanding. Listen. I don't think you're understanding what I'm trying to point to you, sir. Understand.
Now I'm
Good
gonna
or
look up the
bad?
word.
Listen,
I'm gonna look
listen.
up the
Good,
definition evil.
good
I'm gonna
or
look up the
bad.
definition evil while
Okay,
you
look up
talk.
the definition of evil. This is what I'm trying to tell you, brother. In a universe, okay, there's either God or there's no God, right? If there is a God, the God can set the standard on what is good or bad, what is righteous or evil, because righteous or evil is going to be dependent upon on what that God defines as righteous or evil. So if, let's say, the Hindus say, look, it's okay to do this and it's okay to do this and it's not okay to do this, it's not okay to do that, you'll say, okay, it has set its the standard of what is good or bad. I can go to the Muslims. The Quran says, do this, do this, do this. This is good. Do this, do this, do this. That is bad. I can go to my Bible and say,
Okay,
hold
here
on,
we go.
I'm giving you the
No, I'm gonna let
standards.
you finish talking, but I'm just
Eh,
letting you know I got it
Okay,
because they
so I
get
can
two
I can
different definitions.
I can go to the Bible and say, and the Bible is going to say, do this, do this, do this is good, do that, do that, do that is bad. But if you don't have a deity or a God setting that standard, and you believe that there is no God, that we live in a random universe, random. Randomness by definition means that it's patternless, it's unpredictable, it's spontaneous. Then that means that I am living a life and you are living a life spontaneously. We just popped up and we're going to pop out. Never be back here again. You'll never have another chance. You
No,
just got here
no,
lucky.
that
Hold
no,
on.
no, that's not true.
In a
That's
godless
just
universe, in a godless
that's just
universe, if you're saying that there is no God, then how are you saying that? Listen, in a godless universe,
and
that means that there are no laws, there are no rules, there is no
that ain't
good, there
true.
is
That
no
ain't
bad.
true. That ain't
How?
true. That ain't true at
How?
all. I'm gonna
How?
hold up. I'm gonna explain that to you, but let me first go back into what I went into what we were talking about bad and evil. I gave you the definition for bad. Now let me give you the definition of evil. Evil definition is immoral, sinful,
In
corrupt.
immoral?
It's a immoral, sinful, corrupt. It also say the quality of being evil, sin, wicked,
Exactly.
crime,
Wickedness, sin.
sinful, corruption.
It's
So,
to go against. It is to go
but you
against.
I'm
That is
saying
what
it got
sin is.
two different definitions for bad and evil. So
But
I'm
but
not telling my son that he's like evil, like he's a sinful person. So that
yeah,
makes you a sinful.
of course, you tell them that they're being bad because they're
Okay,
incapable of understanding what evil is. But understanding when you take it to its logical conclusion, bad is evil because you are not honoring what your parent says, which is evil. That's the reason why I'm pointing out to you. You'll tell a kid, hey, that's being bad. Why is a kid bad? Because a kid is not listening to you. It's not honoring its parents. That's why we say that kid is bad. But
so
it's not.
why?
It's no different. You can't say
Okay,
it's.
so
You can
you
just as easily say that kid
okay?
is
I,
being
I
evil.
I can agree with you at a from a certain standpoint about these two words because they are like almost synonymous. But let me ask you this though. Would you use the term bad for your kid or would you use evil? Which
Look,
one would
brother.
you
Of
use?
course,
You've been
look.
evil. You've been
I
evil
would
in
use.
school today, or you've been bad in school
Listen,
today.
I would
Why do
say
they
that.
serve?
Listen, I would say bad because the kid understands what bad is. A child doesn't understand what evil is yet. Until you're older, you can't really understand what evil is. But you can be bad, and that's the reason why we tell kids what to do, because what, they're ignorant. We have to teach kids, and we hope that we teach them enough so that way when we're not looking, they'll know how to conduct themselves. They won't be bad, they won't be evil. But the whole point of using the word bad is because we're trying to deter a behavior that we dislike. Well, why do we dislike certain behaviors? Because God has set the standard of what a good behavior is. Hence, don't steal, don't kill, don't do these things. When I see my kid doing these things, I'm like, hey, you're being bad. Don't do that. You're not listening to me, which is not honoring your parents, or you're not you're trying to fight, means you're just trying to cause violence and evil. You're trying to do these things. You don't understand why you're not supposed to do them, but I'm telling you that they're bad. The same reason why a kid doesn't understand why they can't have candy for dinner, because the kid doesn't understand what is good for them or what is bad for their health. because they are ignorant. You have to teach them these things. No, you can't have. Maybe you can have a piece of candy when you're done eating dinner, but you have to eat real food first, and then we'll give you your dessert. But until you eat your dinner, you can't have that. And if you decide to go ahead and eat that piece of candy, even though I told you you have to eat your dinner, you're being bad. But understand, in my heart, I know he's being bad. Why? Because he's doing an evil deed. He's not honoring me as his parent. Now, I'm not going to say you're evil and hate him. I'm going to try to teach my son not to do the evil things. That's the point, fam. Bad and evil can be used interchangeably, but the only
I
reason,
agree with that. It can be used interchangeably.
so
I agree
so
with that.
so the only reason why I say we have to define what is good or bad, again, we have to, because I believe in one universal truth. I believe the scriptures are the universal truth. Now, nobody has to accept that. Fine, not an issue. But if you're going to use words like good or bad, you have to define from what standpoint are you talking about. Just the same way as if an atheist, right? They can't really say what's good or bad. And you can't. An atheist can't get into an argument with another atheist and say, "Hey, that's good or bad." If you don't believe in a God, all you can say is, "Hey, man, I don't like what you're doing, or what you're doing is not beneficial to me." But I can't say that it's not good or bad because you're free to do whatever you want to do. There is no good or bad. There is
No,
no right or wrong.
that's a lie, though. That's a lie. You know why? Because atheists, whoever they may be, they living in a country that they following rules. They not doing what they want to do.
Okay,
They
I have
actually
no
are
issue
following
with that.
rules.
I have no issue with that. You can
So they
follow.
know.
Look,
So
you
they
can
know
follow
what. So
laws. You
so
can
they know
follow
what's good
laws,
and
but they're
bad, or
arbitrary.
good and evil.
But
They
listen,
know.
nobody ever says, listen, and you just made a stronger point for me. Nobody ever says that laws are good or bad. You just be like, man, I hate that law or I like that law. But you can't say it's good or bad. You can say a law is beneficial or not beneficial, but you can't say a law is good or bad. You're saying, look, I live within this country, I follow the laws. Yeah. But I can sit there and tell you that, hey, that law is hella corrupt. That law is not right. That law is wrong, but doesn't mean just because I follow the laws don't mean that I agree with them. I follow them because I live in this society. I have to accept their rules. But I also have my own standard. I have my own standard, which is the universal standard, which is God's standard. I will follow God's law long before I'll follow their law. I follow their law to function within their society. I follow God's law so that way I can function within his reality, so I can be in good standing with him. I don't give a damn about these laws. These laws don't mean a damn thing. There's some laws that I'm like, hey, I'm cool with that. I don't mind that. Hey, that's a pretty good law. But then there's some laws that I'm like, bro, that's corrupt as hell. No, that's a bad law. That is a bad law. And the reason why I'm able to say that that law is good or bad is because I know what God's standard is. But if you don't know what God's standard is, you can say, hey, I don't like that law, or that law is unbeneficial to me, but you cannot say that that law is good or bad. Yeah, so I agree with you.
But
We live within laws.
majority of the laws that we dealing with, like the earthly laws, they come from the principles of God law, according to the Bible, biblical, right? Because thou
Everything
should
is
not kill, thou should not steal, and basically, you can go to jail for just the laws by stealing out of a store. You can go to jail for killing somebody. So basically, it's almost the same pattern, right?
almost because they're trying to follow a Christian standard. So I have no issue with that. But at the same time, it's not God's law. So at the same time, they allow things that would go against God, such as homosexuals getting married and doing weird ass shit like that. So as far as the laws, yeah, some of them have good laws, and that's what I was saying. There are some laws that I agree with that I say are good laws. Like, hey, I like that law. That is a good law. You shouldn't steal. You shouldn't be able to go out and kill people. I agree with that. But then there's other laws that I have to accept. It don't mean that I follow them or practice them, but I have to accept as part of this society, such as homosexuals getting married. I say that's a bad law. My whole point of it, because again, marriage is a union between two people under the eyes of God. Now, if you want to change the law so these people can claim each other on taxes and do all of that, cool. I don't care about that. But to say that they're married in front of who? It's illogical to say that you're getting married in front of a God if God said that you can only get married in one specific way. You're just literally just trying to do it to get the tax benefits. Okay, cool. If that, instead of changing what the institute of God is, which they can't do, they should have changed the institute of the laws of the land, meaning that they should have just changed the way the whole tax code works. But again, it's illogical. I can't say, I say it's a bad law because you got a bunch of people thinking that they're getting married in the eyes of God when God will never accept them. And that's why I'm like, it's a dumb law. It's stupid. But hey, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. I can't force my belief onto you. I can only try to convince you of how I think. And hence why I, as a Christian, and God could have come, he got command of the whole universe. He can build the heavens, the stars, and all the things. And out of all the immense power, the unlimited power, instead of conquering us, which he could have did in a snap, he gave us our own free will to choose him, to follow him willingly. So if that's how God chose to deal with us, then I, as a Christian, cannot go out into the world with a sword trying to tell people, hey, you either accept Christianity or you don't, or else I'm gonna kill
Oh,
you. If you
okay
don't, I'm
then,
gonna kill you.
Okay then, Mo. So your forefathers believers as like the same believers as you. Not saying that your forefathers like in biology. I'm saying that your forefathers Christians, they was killing people. They was actually hanging people on the stake if they didn't believe like they did. And
Well,
luckily, you didn't live in those days or in the days of the Muslims because you would have been one that killed too for how you believe in. So we living in a time or in a country where your belief really don't matter like that. But if you
well,
go in another country with your belief, you can end up getting killed just by the way you talking and believing the way you believe.
exactly, exactly, and that's the point. Is um, one minor correction is yeah, Christians have killed people in the past. I do not deny that, but these people just murdering people, you can't defend that with the scriptures. You can't defend that. So they can claim to be Christians or be doing it in the name of God, but their actions won't be justified by our scriptures. So that's the point. Is if somebody goes out into the world trying to conquer the world for Christianity, I'll be the first one to condemn them. Like, look, bro, that's not how it goes. You might be trying to do something, but your cause is not justified by our scriptures. You're just doing something on your own. And that's the exact same argument that I deal with Muslims. Is when I deal with Muslims, I'm saying, look, all you Muslims who are out here trying to talk about peace and love and kumbaya, I'm like, yeah, that's cute. That's cool that you feel like that because you lived in a civilized society, but you can't justify that argument using your text. You can't show me in the Quran where it tells me to do what you're trying to say right now. But if I go to those people out there, if I was to go with deal with some ISIS people or fundamentalists, I can show you, I can tell them like, hey, at least you're following your book because you can justify your actions through your book. Now, I don't agree with your book. I hate your book. I think your book is silly. But what ends up happening is at least you're being honest to your book. So when somebody goes out and cuts somebody's head off or does jihad, that is what Muhammad commanded. So they can open their Quran and say, look, I'm following my book. And I can't say you're a liar. No, you're actually being truthful. And according to your Quran, you're doing what is good to your belief. So really, you are following your religion to the T. You are being honest about it. While these Muslims who live out in the United States or in the UK, they're a bunch of liars because they don't open their Quran. They don't open their hadiths. Because if they did open it, they would understand why those fundamentalists are doing what they are doing. Because they're not pulling it out of their ass. They're literally following the commandments of Muhammad. So it's, you got to understand, that's what I'm trying to point out is a Christian going to commit violence would not be justified by the Bible, the same way a Muslim going out talking about peace would not be justified by his Quran. If you're going to follow the Quran, do what the Quran says. If you're going to follow the Bible, do what the Bible says. But don't put your own interpretation or your interpolation upon it. And that's why when I deal with Muslims, I said, let's go to the text. Don't give me your philosophy. Let's read what your text say.
Okay, that's the same way I can do with you or a Muslim because you're not dealing with the original text of them, and that didn't come from Muhammad. Saying that jihad didn't come from Muhammad. And matter of fact, jihad wasn't originally about going out killing nobody. Jihad was about protecting the ones who in their family, like not going out killing, but those who come against us, we will kill. That's just like if anyone come to your family, you gonna
Show it
protect
to
your
me.
family.
Show it to me. Show it to me where it says Quran is where the jihad is supposed to be a peaceful thing where you're talking to
That's
people.
okay. Then
Show
we
me.
we got we got to go to the original of all this stuff. So
So what
right
is the
now I'm
original?
still I got all of that here, but
I'm
right now
asking
I'm
what is
still
the original? So are you saying the Quran that we have today is not the Quran from Muhammad,
no
even though
no
every
no
Muslim?
okay. No, that's
Even
not
though
the
every
reason. That's why.
Muslim would
That's why.
tell me that all the
That's
Qurans are the
no,
same, though.
no. All the Qurans are not the same. That's why you got
Oh,
different versions. Just like you got different versions of the Bible. You got the International Bible. You got the King James Bible. You got different versions of the Quran too. You got
oh,
Abdullah version, and then you got the other. You got the Shiite version. You got the Sufi version. See what I'm saying? All of them are not the same, and
the
all of them
Shiites.
don't
There's
have
only
the
one
same dialect.
brother. The Shiites read the same Quran, brother. They don't read a different
Bro,
Quran.
no, they don't, bro. I'm trying to tell you, there are different Qurans, bro. That's why they name Quran and Quran when you spell a Quran with a K and one with a Q, and you spell a
Oh,
Quran with it. Hold on, I'm showing you, bro. I'm trying to tell you something. I did all this. I studied. I was a Muslim, bro. I made salat 7 times a day when I was a Muslim. I made
they don't
salat
make
seven
Salah
times a
seven
day.
times a day. They make it Salah 5 times a day. So you talking
Bro,
about you're a
listen what
Muslim? You're an
when
unorthodox Muslim.
A Sufi makes salat 7 times a day, bro. Do you know that? Now
Where in the
A regular Muslim makes salat 5 times a day, but when you're a Sufi, you make salat 7 times a day. See,
okay.
you don't know this stuff.
Well,
That's what I'm
you're
trying
saying
to tell you.
you're saying that I don't know it, but brother, I studied just as much Islam as you, and just because I've never been a Muslim, you're assuming that I haven't studied the Quran from cover to cover. This is the exact reason why the Quran is not in chronological order. There's a
But
reason why they mixed up the
that's right.
Meccan
You
and the
absolutely
Medina
right. It's
verses.
not in canonical order.
So,
You right about that. I
so
know
if
about that too.
so if you follow the Quran in its chronological order, you'll understand that Surah 9 was one of the final. It was the second to final. Matter of fact, the final actual surah was a very short surah that doesn't say nothing. The final revelation of Muhammad was Surah 9. And we understand through Islamic studies that they have what they call nask, or abrogation, because you have contradictory verses within the Quran. So, in order to get past these contradictions, they came up with this idea of nask, following the last thing that Muhammad said. There's a reason why you have to know the chronological order of the Quran, so that way you can know what the last thing he said was compared to the first thing, because his last thing cancels out the first things. And this is not me, this is Islamic scholarship. And you can look up what abrogation is. And matter of fact, the Quran has a verse about abrogation, about replacing verses in the Quran. So, when we deal with the idea of abrogation, we have to understand that the surah of the sword is the surah that nullifies the majority of the Quran, meaning that all the Meccan verses have been nullified by the Medinan verses. All the so-called peaceful verses have been nullified by the fight verses. And there's a reason why they call it the surah of the sword. When you're talking about Surah 9, it's talking about implementing the jizya. It's talking about going to conquer the world, and that all of the world will become Muslims. So when I deal with a Muslim who is trying to talk to me about peace and yet doesn't even understand the laws of abrogation or nask, I can't take them seriously. Because if that's the case, and if they're not going to accept nask, then they have to come up with their own explanation as to why they have to abrogate verses. Why would they even create a verse about abrogation, let alone abrogate many verses? Because it is a contradictory book.
It's a contradictory book, just like the Bible is a contradictory book
Oh,
because you
no,
have
no,
people.
no. Let's not change the subject.
Hold
Don't
on.
go to the
No,
Bible. Stick
I'm
on
going
the
to both of
Quran.
them. If you
Stick
want to
on the
stick with the
Quran.
Quran, I'm me. I don't stick with the Quran or the Bible. I'm over both of them. So
No,
you
no,
dealing
no,
with
no.
one, and I'm
You're
dealing with
dealing.
both of them.
You keep jumping from
I'm
one
telling
topic to the
if you
next.
want if you want
You just said
we're
that the
not jumping
Quran
from
is
one
well
to the
preserved.
next. I just
Brother,
made a statement that both
you
of them are what you said. You said it's a contradictory book. I said the Bible is a
No,
contradictory
no,
book.
no, 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 sir. You said that you had the original Quran. You said that you gave your salat 7 times a day. And what
And
I'm trying to
Sufi.
show you exactly, and that's what I'm trying to show to you is the illogicness of Sufism. If there's any form of Islam that would be the most orthodox that actually lines up with the Quran, it would be Sunniism, not Shiaism, not Salafism, not Sufism. We're talking about Sunni Islam is what actually makes the most sense according to the Quran. It's all trash to me. But if you're going to
Okay,
go with one,
have you
hold on.
ever read L's Holy Quran?
You said what?
Have you ever read L's Holy Quran?
What is L's Holy Quran? So is there different information that is secret
That's
that nobody
yes,
else has
of course.
access
It's a
to?
way yes, of course. It's way more different information. That's why I say you reading all of these. other Qurans and Bibles and King James, different versions and international versions and stuff. When you read information that come from other people besides the scholars that you've been reading from, then you stepping outside of this paradigm that got you inside of the paradigm that you in from the get go. These
But you
people, they create. Hold up, they created these Qurans for their benefit. The Arabs that you see and all of these other people that claim to be Muslims and they're not the real one. So of course they didn't have the real information. They was killing off the people that had the real information. That's why they had to memorize the Quran and because they was killing them. Okay, now but they didn't kill all the ones who had this information. So basically, what I'm saying is like the same with the Bible. You had like the Constantine. How can you explain the Constantine when the Christians came about
Constantine
and
what?
they Constantine? Oh, you don't know about
What did
the
he do? What did
Constantine, the
Constantine? I know
council,
who Constantine is. I'm trying to
right?
find out what he
About
was saying that he did.
he the one got you reading the Bible that you're reading right now in
Oh
the
my
manner that you're
gosh.
reading it, bro.
You said that we're reading the Constantine Bible. When did Constantine
It's the
ever make a
King James.
Bible?
Listen, I didn't say he reading the Bible. He didn't write the Bible, bro.
So what are you
Basically,
talking? Why
just
did you
like
bring him up then?
because I'm telling you, it was a council that came up,
The
and they
Council
when
of
they came,
Nicaea?
the council of Nicaea, right? When they came
What was the
up, they
Council of Nicaea about?
the council of Nicaea was basically about letting the Christians become a part of their organization to become Christians, but it's gonna be a limitation to how they believe.
Okay.
That's
So
what that was about.
now, brother, now, like I said, now you've pretty much exposed yourself to me, fam, because you've now made incorrect
Oh,
statements about Islam and you've made incorrect statements about Christianity, and both of them are historical facts.
so
You
you
said that.
saying that
Hold
what I'm
on.
saying about
You're
Constantine
saying that the
is
Council
incorrect?
of Nicaea, decided what Christians believe. No, sir. Understand, in the year, in the I want to say it was in the 320s, 325, I believe. It was Constantine, who was a recent convert to Christianity, had a called a council, and the council was called because there was a division that was starting to come up within his kingdom. You had a new heretic coming up by the name of Arius. Arius was trying to teach the idea of Unitarianism, meaning that the same beliefs that Jehovah's Witnesses follow today is what he was trying to teach. So what happened was is there was a discord that was starting to form within the kingdom, and this guy Constantine, who didn't give a damn about Christianity, only cared about his kingdom staying together. So what he ended up doing was is he called a council, and he invited Athanasius from Egypt to come up from he came up from Alexandria to make the case, and they both used the exact same scriptures to whether Trinitarianism is orthodox or whether Unitarianism is orthodox, so that way we can get a clear understanding, so that way people would stop fighting amongst themselves in their kingdom where they were dissenting at. So what ended up happening is he called this council, and he invited all the church fathers from around the world to come. But no, the majority of the church fathers never went, because they assumed that this man Constantine, who was a Christian killer, who used to create what they call Roman candles. You know, the Roman candles we shoot on the 4th of July was named after this torture device where they used to put Christians on top of poles and they would set them on fire, and they would use the burning Christians to light their pathways. That's what a Roman candle was. And so all the Christians around the world knew who Constantine was and what he did. So when he called them, he assumed that he was trying to set them all up, because he was just a recent convert. They didn't know that he had converted to Christianity. And so they thought he was trying to gather all the church fathers around the world together, so that way he can slaughter them in one fell swoop and have to be done with Christianity. What ended up happening is about half of the church fathers ended up showing up, and they locked themselves into a council, and they got into an argument where they debated over the scripts. And what ended up happening? Well, Saint Athanasius came out victorious, and everybody agreed that he demonstrated through the scriptures that the Trinity is true, and that this guy's Unitarian idea is can't possibly be true. And the exchange got so heated in there that they said that Saint Nick, where we get the idea of Saint Nick, Saint Nick went over to Arius and he slapped him in the middle of the discussion. It was so heated in this council. But what ended up happening? Athanasius ended up proving Trinitarianism to be true. So what did Constantine do? Instead of implementing Trinitarianism, he felt bad for Arius. He felt really bad for him, and he really liked Arius. So instead of kicking Arius, the heretic, out, he kicked out the Trinitarian Athanasius. And he was turning Rome into a Unitarian state where they don't believe in the Trinity as we do. And it was St. Athanasius who had to go into hiding, and he kept the faith alive along with all the rest of the church fathers who acknowledged what he was saying was true at the council. So when you sit there, Anu, and you say, well, your guys are following Constantine. Constantine was a Unitarian. He didn't even believe in the Trinity. And not only did he not believe in the Trinity, you didn't even explain the Council of Nicaea right. And then you made the statement that we got the Bible from the Council of Nicaea. So now you expect me to trust anything that you say if you can't even get Christian or Islamic history correct, brother.
First of all, now you done? Can I talk? Cause I just stopped right here and just let you explain all the nonsense that you just explained and what you
Please.
thought. Hold up, okay, let me talk now.
Go ahead. I'm letting you.
First of all, brother, you have no clue of what you're talking about by reading these historical documents that you go on Google and read the same thing that you're reading right now, and not in its proper context when you get the people who can break this stuff down for you. Because what you just explained, bro, he the one that brought the Trinity about so it can be worldly wide, known as what it is right now today. And that's why you believe in the Trinity right now today, because of him, because of that council of what now the Nicene Council. Now the deal with the thing, Josephus had a part later on in about your Bible. King James had a part in your Bible with Shakespeare. That's why you got the Shakespeare literature in there, thy and thee. That's
What?
Shakespeare literature. Yeah, that's Shakespeare literature,
Brother,
bro.
you know that you don't even know history. You went from King James, who was around in the 1600s, to Josephus, who was around in the first century. Hold on, hold on. You're saying, hold on. You're saying,
I'm
listen,
just giving
listen.
you people who got something to do with your Bible. All these people.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question. You're saying that these people have a way to interrupt our Bibles. So you're saying that Josephus had a hand in our Bible. Explain how Josephus had a hand in our Bible when by the time Josephus comes around, you had the Bible already translated into many languages. But what you're saying is Josephus was able to make one correction in one Bible, and he went to all the other languages and made the same corrections. So that way, all the Christian Bibles have the same mistakes in the same exact spot. Brother, you sound illogical.
Hold on. Let me ask you this: from all historical, where do they get their knowledge from? Dealing mostly about the Bible, Josephus, right?
No, Josephus is not somebody we depend upon for him. The only reason why Josephus is ever brought up is because Josephus was a first century historian who also acknowledged that Christ existed. That's the only thing that we show. Josephus acknowledged that Christ existed. We use him as an independent source when people try to say Jesus never existed. Well, we can show people that there are independent sources outside of the Bible that talks about Jesus' existence. Hence, the Talmud. Hence, you get people, and then you also have Josephus. Hence, you have Tacitus. So you have Roman writers, Jewish writers, and the Jewish Talmuds that talk about Jesus Christ's existence. We do not depend on Josephus for a damn thing. Our
Who
scriptures.
was these Jewish writers?
What do you mean? Who are these Jewish writers?
You
The
said that
Jewish.
Jewish writers. The most dependable upon the scriptures as you know it from historical, it come from Josephus.
Brother,
That's who.
no, it doesn't. Josephus never wrote no scriptural text. Josephus was a historian. That's man. I'm even
Yes,
like, bro. Now
he
you
was
are
a historian, bro.
a
He was an
historian.
historian that
That's it.
told. He was a historian that they relate their knowledge to of what he's saying.
No, he was not a historian in the sense of what you're saying. He was a historian, and he went around the world documenting things that was going on. Josephus talked about the Ethiopians, he talked about the Romans, he talked about the Jews, he talked about all of these different groups of people because he traveled into different parts of the world and he documented peoples. He documented who these peoples were. He was we rely on him to give us a vision of what was going on in the first century because there wasn't
Okay,
too many people traveling around documenting the differences between peoples. Not many peoples traveled around the world. He
okay,
was
okay. I got something for you. Since I remember earlier, I mentioned the Shakespeare literature in the Bible, the dying thee, right? That's Shakespeare literature. How did Shakespeare name get quoted in the Bible?
oh
And
my
you got, hold on, I'm
gosh,
finna show you. So you don't know about Shakespeare name being in the Bible, hitting on the Psalms 46 and 3 and 46 and 9 when you read from up top
oh man,
and you got to count the numbers and you find his name Shakespeare in there.
brother,
That is
brother,
not a
let me ask you,
coincidence, bro.
let
That
me
that's
let
in
me
there.
let me let me ask you a
I'm
question,
serious,
brother.
bro.
'Cause
If
let
that's
me
a
hold on,
coincidence,
brother, hold on,
hold up. I'm
let me
asking
ask
you,
you
is
a
that a
question
coincidence
about.
that is that enough?
I'm about to answer. I'm about to answer your question. If what you're saying is true, right? And we got our Bible from you're saying you got the 1611. Okay, I got the King James. I'm holding the King James Bible in my hand right now. All right. King James and the 1611, if you're saying has Shakespearean literature, because this Bible is written in the Old English form or a much thorough English, unlike the lazy English that we speak today. It's actually a very thorough. So it uses words like ye, and it uses thou and thee and they because thou, thee, and they means different things. So it's a very specific Bible. But you're assuming that somehow Shakespeare was able to write something in the 16th century, add it to the Bible that we
Hey
have
yo,
today. This
hey yo
man,
Mo,
what's up,
hey
brother?
yo Mo,
What's
yo
up?
brother, who's the problem? Is Jesus the guy from Isaiah 42?
Yeah, yeah. But
Uh, but
hold on. Let me finish my point real quick, and
I,
then I'll answer
hey,
you. Hold on.
hey, hey,
you said
Mo. After
yes. You
you
said
finish that,
yes.
hold up. Hey Mo,
Brother.
After
Right.
you finish your statement, I want you to read Psalms 46, 3, and we're gonna read Psalms 40, 6 and 9, and we're gonna count the numbers and ask me is this a coincidence that just there and it add up from 46 46. It's in 46 and you count 46. Is
Brother,
that a
brother,
coincidence, brother? No,
brother,
no.
brother,
How do people
brother,
know about that, Mo? Who
brother.
told people that that was in the Bible like that?
Look, I
I'm
didn't.
asking you this, bro.
Let me finish my point. Let
Okay,
me finish my
finish
point
your
before I
point
even
and
get
then we're
there.
gonna get on this because it ain't
Okay,
nothing no
okay.
coincidence.
So in the year 16, in the 1600s, you understand that by the 1600s, the scriptures was well established in many languages, from the Aramaic to the Greek to the Ethiopic to the Syriac to the Egyptian to I'm talking the Coptic. I'm talking about we got all these languages
What
that
was the first
translated. Hold
language?
on,
What was the first dialect the
that
scripture was
trans.
written in?
You said what?
What was the original Bible written in and what dialect?
It was written in many dialects, brother. It was
I
written
said, what,
in
bro, you
Hebrew.
ain't
It
hearing what
was,
I'm saying,
brother,
bro.
it
You
was
ain't even
written
answering
in
my question.
Hebrew.
I asked you a direct question. I
It
didn't
was
say.
written in many dialects.
I say
Hebrew,
the first one,
Aramaic, Greek. You know that these are different languages, right?
bro. Is you listening
Yo,
to
can
what
I
I'm
interrupt
saying
real
instead
quick?
of
Like,
just
what you
blowing
guys
out?
talking about?
I say, can you tell me what was the first dialect that the scripture was written
What
in?
do you mean the first, brother? You know the Bible is written. It's composed of many books and many authors. The book
Mo,
of
Mo, Mo,
Isaiah,
Mo,
hold
Mo,
on.
Mo.
The book of Isaiah, the book of Ezekiel. You know that the book of Ezekiel is not written in the same language as the book of Isaiah. You know that, right? You know that there was times where things were written when they were in captivity using other languages. You know that, right? That's what I'm
Okay,
trying
so
to tell you. You keep trying to talk
okay.
about an original
Hold up,
dialect.
You running your mouth, but it got to be the same dialect if these the same people.
No, it's
They
not. No, it's not.
share D.
Brother, I am a
Hold up.
black
Now
man. Listen. I
is
am a
share
black
D
man.
is share D is share
Listen.
D is not the
Brother,
same as Hebrew.
I am a black man that lives in America. My original language was Amharic. My people come from an Amharic speaking people. I live in America and I speak the English language. Am I therefore not an Ethiopian because I speak another language now? That brother, your logic doesn't even stand up to
You
reality.
you ain't even answer my question. You ain't even listen to what I
You
said.
just
I
said
say
what
it's
they
not.
speak a different dialect, and I just gave you an example of a human
Oh my
being
God.
speaking a different
This
dialect. I speak
this
English.
guy. Okay, in English it's a dialect with many other dialects in it, like Greek. It got Latin in it. It got Old English in it. It got French in it. Duh. How dumb can
Exactly.
you be, bro? Okay
Exactly.
then.
So
So
when I say that Isaiah and Ezekiel are not written in the same language, you're the one who made the statement that says it has to be the same dialect. No, it doesn't.
bro, when I asked you what was the original that it was
What?
written
Oh
in,
my gosh!
with,
What do you mean
okay, listen,
original?
listen to what I'm saying. It got to be some a point where it started with a first dialect first or first language first before it got mixed up, right? So give me the first before it got mixed up. That's what
This
I'm
dude,
saying.
this
Give
guy,
me the first starting
this
off for
guy,
the
this guy.
written of the Bible,
I guess you don't understand just simple logic. I just showed you how a
bro.
Hebrew
You
can
ain't
be
showing me
I just
nothing.
showed
When
you
they first
how a
started writing,
Hebrew.
I
I
asked you
showed
when
you
did
how
they
a
first started
Hebrew.
writing and what dialect it was when they first started writing the first script. Give me that, bro. If you can't
What do you
understand
mean
that,
the
bro,
first script? What are you
when
talking
the
about? The
first,
first script.
okay, listen to what I'm saying slowly and calmly.
So let me ask you a question. What
Bro,
dialect?
listen to what
What
I'm saying,
dialect?
bro. Listen to what
What?
I'm
Go ahead, man.
Listen to what
Go
I'm
ahead, man.
saying, bro. When whatever prophet first picked up that pen or whatever they were writing with then, that feather or whatever they were writing with then, when that first prophet picked up that whatever they were writing with and started writing, what was the dialect that they was writing in?
Hey, yo, but
That's what
what's
I'm
the
asking
topic,
you.
bro? I don't understand you guys. What you guys talking about?
We was talking about he first he went from trying to tell us that the scriptures we have was created at the Nicaea Council. And then he somehow jumped onto a topic that somehow I guess the languages have to be the exact same. And now he's asking for an original script. What was the original language? And I'm trying to show this man that these people were caught up in different areas. You realize that the Hebrews at one time lived in Egypt. Do you think they were speaking Hebrew in Egypt to the Egyptians who
Oh,
spoke Egyptians?
okay, but according,
Hold on. Do you think that these Hebrews were speaking Hebrew to the Babylonians when they were in Babylon? Do you think that these Hebrews were speaking their language that is native to them, even though they were living in other people's lands at the time?
Well, with Machado they did,
yes,
but with the
yes, of course.
outsiders
Oh
they
my
didn't.
gosh.
With Machado they
Okay,
did.
now, yes, of course, they the same
There's even
people,
records
bro.
in Iran when a lot of Jews went to the escaped. The Iranians they
Now
even
I
had
want to get
talks,
back. Now,
Jewish
So
talks.
why
yes,
is the New
they
They
the
talk
Testament?
with the
same. They
Jews
the
in the
same
Jew
people.
in the
Why is
language
the
of
Tell
the
me
Jews.
something.
why is the New
Okay,
Testament
okay,
that was
hold
written
on.
by
Okay, hold on.
Jews written in Greek?
Let me explain, Mo. Let me explain, cause I know that you just blare out, Mo. You don't even listen. You just want to make your
No,
Christian
I'm
point of
giving you
view.
a logical
Oh,
point.
okay, then listen to what I'm saying, bro. These the same people, bro. They can speak the same dialect, bro.
Oh my!
Now, first of
What
all, if
language
you
did
got
he speak?
hold up, if you got
What language
Moses,
did Jesus speak?
bro, let me talk. He spoke Aramaic, bro.
Thank
That's
you.
what he spoke.
He
Okay,
spoke
let me finish
Aramaic.
talk, bro. You ain't teaching me nothing, bro. Let me talk. First of all, when you talking about Moses, right? Which who God, your God, came and gave him the writing first. He the first one got the writing. So that's what I was asking you. What was the dialect Moses was writing in? Because it said that Moses learned in the teachings of the Egyptians. He was taught. He was he was wise in all the Egyptian knowledge. So if Moses was taught how to write in Egypt, how to speak the Egyptian hieroglyphic and all that, and he got the tablet from God, and the tablet was written in what he know how to speak in, and he bringing this to the people that speak Hebrew. Of course, they got some type of understanding or some relationship. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Are you done?
Now if you don't understand this here,
So
then you need to go back in your
so
laboratory and start doing
you
some
said
studying.
that you saying that Moses was the first one to get writings. No, sir. Enoch was the first one to get the writings. So again, you keep trying to go to our scriptures and yet
Okay,
you don't even
okay,
understand.
hold up.
Hold on.
What a
Let
book
me
at,
finish. I let
hold
you
up. What
go
a
through
book
your
at in
whole
the
spiel.
Bible? What a book
Oh
at in the
my
Bible saying
gosh.
Enoch got a book at in the Bible? What Enoch book at in the Bible?
Brother, the book of Enoch has been held in the Ethiopic scripts
Oh,
from the
nah,
beginning
you,
of
I
time.
already know all this, but we dealing with the Bible. We ain't talking
The
about
Bible,
outside of the
the
Bible, bro. We
Ethiopian
dealing with the
Bible,
Bible.
the Ethiopian Toahedo Bible in the Orthodox Church, who the book of Enoch
So,
was found with. Hold on.
okay.
The Ethiopians, who the book of Enoch was found with, along with the book of Jubilees, was found with the Ethiopians, who were Christians long before these Romans. So what are you talking
So
about?
hold up. So you got that Bible. You got that Bible with all that in it right now. You got to just King
Yes, I have
James
the book of
Bible.
Enoch.
So that's in there with your Bible, the King James Bible.
Brother, did you hear what
Man,
I just
answer my
told you?
question, man. Answer my,
I
is you
told
reading that
you in the
King James Bible?
Ethiopic Toahedo Church, we are not based on the Romans. You obviously do not know Christian history. You have bit into the idea that the Romans introduced it to the world. Did you know that there was Christians all over the
And
world
who got
before
their mic
Rome?
on?
Hold on.
Who mic
You
on?
have the Ethiopic. You have the Greek. You have the Syriac. You even have the Roman Orthodox, or forgive me, the
Cut
Russian
your mic
Orthodox
on.
churches. So why do you keep trying to compare everybody to the Roman Church? Do you know the difference between the Eastern or the Western, the Orthodox or the what's the word that I'm looking for? The Protestant. Do you understand the difference between Orthodox or Protestant? You claim to know our faith, but you don't know nothing about it. You treat us like we're a monolith. And you, who claims to know all this information, you've
So,
only looked from the Roman side. You don't know
okay, so
nothing
hold
about
up.
the
So
Ethiopians or the
hold up.
Syrians.
You a Christian, right?
Brother, I am a Christian. What do you
Okay,
know
then. Okay,
about the what do you know about the Orthodox Church?
Hold up. Let me say something, bro. They were first called Christians at Antioch. So what the hell is you talking about?
Brother, so then why do
No,
you
I ain't
keep
no
trying to
brother
give us
nothing. They were
wrong?
first called
Why do you
Christian
keep
at
trying to give
Antioch.
us wrong? You understand that Constantinople was not in Rome. You know where Damascus is? Do you know these areas? Because I think you don't even understand history. You keep trying to compare us to the
So
Romans.
you saying Ethiopian? So you saying Ethiopian is in what you just said? Because you
What?
said Ethiopian. You said the Ethiopian Bible, right? Which is the one that deal with Enoch.
Yeah, exactly. The Ethiopic Bible.
So that ain't got nothing to do with what they were first called Christian at.
Whoever said anything about being Christians? You're the ones who keeps talking about the King James Bible. You're the one who keeps trying to reduce us to the Catholic Church. Only thing that you know is Catholic history. You don't know nothing about the Orthodox, nor the Eastern Western schisms. You don't even know what
All
the Council of Nicaea is. You have these philosophies in your head that you done taught yourself, and none of it is based on history, fam. You just taught you think
bro,
that you're
they
self-taught
were
and you don't
first
even know
called
what we
Christians
believe.
at Antioch, bro. Is
Brother,
that true or not?
nobody
Hold
was
on.
talking about
Just answer
Antioch.
my. We were talking about Christian, and you were talking about the oldest Christian.
You're
So
the
I
one
said
who
they were
keeps
first.
talking about the King James Bible in the 1600s. If you're talking about the people in Antioch, you're talking about the first century AD. What are you talking about? You don't even know history.
Bro, listen, calm down. Just calm down. Calm down. Paul, I'm dealing with Paul, right?
Oh my God. Now you're dealing with when was Paul alive?
You deal with the Bible, bro. What are you talking about? You talking about Jesus dying on the cross and all that? Now you want to
When
try to
was Paul alive?
when he was alive.
Obviously he had to be alive during the time of the apostles, since he had a conversation with Peter and all the rest of the apostles. So what are you talking about?
So that's still dealing with Catholics, right?
You said what?
That's still dealing with Catholics, right?
Cat did you brother, did you say that he was a Catholic man? Is that what you're
Bro,
saying?
why?
Have you
No.
ever read the book of Acts? Have you ever read the book of Acts, which is the whole
All,
books of the
all
how
that's
the church
Catholic.
hold on,
All
hold
that's
on.
Catholic,
The
bro.
brother, the book of Acts is not
Hey,
Catholic.
cut your mic off, man. Whoever got their mic on, cut your mic off, man.
Brother,
All that's dealing with Catholic, bro.
you're
All
saying it's
that's
dealing with
Catholic.
Catholicism. Okay.
Catholic was the
So hold
first
on.
church,
So
bro.
when we deal with the book of Acts, which is talking about how the church started, how it was formed, where's the Catholics at in there? Why don't we hear about why don't we hear about none of this what you're talking about? The whole books of Acts is talking about the formation of the church, how the church was formed. and nothing that
You
you're
talking about
saying
on
is
the rock of
fabricated.
Jesus? I know you ain't talking about on. He gonna build his rock on the his foundation
That's
on
what
Peter, the
Catholics
rock.
say. See, that's again, you are so caught
I'm
up in the
asking
Catholic
you,
mind, and you ask us,
bro.
look,
I was asking you
Catholics
a
make the
question. Why
argument,
you getting so
okay?
offensive?
Because
I'm asking
Catholics
you a
make that
question.
argument. Catholics make that argument, and they try to
I'm
make the
not making an
statement.
argument. I'm asking you a
No,
question, bro.
I'm pointing out to you what the Catholics say, that this when Christ said that this is the rock that it is formed on, that's what the Catholics try to make the argument, that they're the ones who see the church they're the overseers of the church of the whole world,
They
because
are.
that's what exactly, that just shows how ignorant you are, because
They are though. How?
only
This
Catholics say
this
that.
this a proven fact. What is you
What do
talking
you
about?
mean it's a proven fact? What do you
So
mean?
who in Christianity world who ruled it? The Catholic, right?
Nobody
The,
ruled it. That just shows your ignorance
bro,
to Christian history.
oh my God, the Vaticans don't rule this.
No, they don't rule nothing. Do
Oh
you
my
know
God.
the
So
difference
so you
between
saying
an
the
or
Pope
hold
do
on?
not have
What is
power
the
over
difference?
all of this
Okay,
Christianity stuff, bro? Basically,
what's the difference between Orthodox, Catholicism, and Protestant? Tell me right now.
bro,
What's the difference?
it's all Pope. That's the difference. It's all Pope and
Oh my
Catholic
gosh.
ruling. That's the
I
difference.
can't even take you serious, bro. I can't even
You can't, cause
literally.
you can't
You
tell me
can't even,
nothing
brother.
if you
You don't
telling me
even
that
know what
same
the
Bible that
Eastern
you're
and
reading, bro.
Western. Do you even understand what the Eastern
Oh
Western
my
schism
God.
was?
This guy reading a Christian Bible and he want to try to deny the Pope. The Pope talking about Jesus Christ dying on the cross, and you talking about Christ dying on
What
the cross.
pope?
But
Who was
you,
the first pope? Was Constantine the first pope? What are you talking about? You sound ignorant. What do you mean, pope? Who was the first pope? And who was he the
Peter,
pope over?
Peter was the first Pope.
Who?
Peter,
Peter was the
Peter,
first pope. Show me
yeah,
where it
Peter.
says, Peter, you are the pope. Show it to me.
Oh my God,
Show it to me.
bro, listen, bro. You're a Christian. You're a Christian, and you read the King James Bible with other books. That's what you do, and then
Look,
you try to
look.
put it all together, bro.
Where's
That's what you
Antioch?
do. You
Where's
you are
Antioch?
a
Let me ask you a
Christian,
question.
bro.
Hold on. Where's
And
Antioch?
Antioch
Hold
is
on.
in
I'm asking
Syria.
you. Look,
I
now
just asked you
I
the
already know.
question.
Look,
It's in Syria.
it's in Syria, right?
Yes,
It's in
right,
Syria.
absolutely right.
So
I just
hold
broke
on,
your
hold on.
ass down.
So
Right,
so the first church was where?
in Syria.
In Syria. And you keep trying to tell me about this pope that's in Rome. The first church was in Syria, and yet you're trying to talk to me about a pope in Rome. That's not even in Antioch. That's not even in Constantinople, but that's in Rome, Italy. But you keep trying to talk to me about a pope.
It don't
That
matter,
just shows
bro.
how
Who was
ignorant you are.
listen? No, that's how ignorant you are. Who was these people that was living in Syria at the time? Just because
The
this in
Christians.
Rome. Okay
Christians
then.
were.
So who are the people in Rome? The
What do
Greeks,
you
right?
mean?
The same
Brother,
descendants of the Greeks.
brother,
Man, bro, the same descendants
brother,
of the Greeks are in Rome, bro. What are you
brother.
talking about?
The descendants who were in Antioch were not Romans. It was a Roman colony that was temporarily conquered. That's why during the time of Jesus, it was Caesar who was ruling over their area. And then it was Pontius Pilate who was in control of that specific area because it was now a Roman province. But the Romans did not live there. The Romans lived in Rome. You don't even understand how
But
history
they
works,
still
let alone
you don't have to
geography.
live nowhere to have control over that. You don't have to live at
Exactly.
a specific place to have control over it, bro.
So the descendants that was in the area of Christ were not Romans. The
You don't have
descendants would have been Syrians.
you don't have to live nowhere
They
to
would not
control that
have
place,
been
bro.
Romans. They would have been Syrians, sir. And matter of fact, when we read about Acts and when we read
So
about
it wasn't
Romans,
so
hold on. When
it
we
wasn't the
read about
Roman it
Acts
wasn't the
and
Roman
Romans,
soldiers
hold
looking
on.
for Jesus when he
When
was
we
running.
read about Acts and Romans, we hear about how the church was established, how Paul, how Peter, how all of these ones went around to different countries preaching the word. All of these
Hey,
countries
answer my
became
question.
Christians.
Was Jesus not running from the Roman soldiers?
Oh my gosh. Now this cat
I'm
is going
asking
on
you a
to the Roman.
question, bro.
He didn't run from nobody.
He
He
was
didn't run
running,
from
bro.
nobody. If he
He
was
was
running, then
running,
why did he allow himself to become crucified, sir? If he wanted to
bro.
run, he could have ran.
No, he was
He
running,
stayed to
bro.
be
He did run.
crucified.
Absolutely, he run. Hey, matter
Oh,
of fact, since you hold
now
up,
he's
since you brought up books outside of the Bible, since you want to bring up Enoch, cause The average Christian don't know about Enoch got a book.
What do you mean
So why
average Christian? You mean
the average
Protestant
Christian?
Christian in the United States? Do you know that there is a greater population of Christians outside of the United States and Rome? You know that,
So
right?
let me ask you this: do you know about the book of Barnabas? The book that he wrote too that is mentioned in the Bible?
You're talking about the Gospel of Barnabas that came
Yeah,
around
the
in about
Gospel of Barnabas.
the Gospel of Barnabas that came around in the second and
Right,
third century,
the one who
the
said that
second
Jesus
and third
was
century.
crucified on the
Even though
cross, right, and told you what happened.
our
Right.
Bible was completed in the first century, but that
The
came in the
one,
third
the one who
century.
told you what happened with Jesus, who was actually there, who was a disciple
Who
of Jesus.
came? Who's telling us
And the
300
reason,
years after
and the,
Christ? Who? Hold
hold
on,
up,
hold on, hold on. Who's
hold up.
telling us
And
300 years?
the reason
Why not
why his
accept?
book wasn't in the
Why not
Bible is
accept?
because
Why
you
not?
listen to
Look,
Paul.
if we're going to accept what Barnabas says about Christ, why not accept what the Quran says about Christ? That's just an extra 300 years. The Gospel of Barnabas came 300 years after. Muhammad came 600 years after. Why not just accept
Listen, hold up,
anybody?
hold up. Let me finish. Let me talk. The reason why his book came 300 years after is because that's the reason. That's when they put it out. But Barnabas already had a book when Paul was writing. You can't forget that
Really?
Paul and Barnabas. Paul, listen.
Show it.
Barnabas was the one. Barnabas was the one that brought Paul in. Everybody else ain't want
Did
to
you
have
say
nothing to do with.
Barnabas brought Paul in?
Yes, Barnabas was the one that brought Paul in.
Show it
Yes,
to us.
because everybody else was afraid of
Show it
Paul
to
and
us.
they wanted to kill Paul. But
Show
Barnabas
it
said, no.
to us. You said Barnabas brought Paul in.
Yes, he the one.
Even though it wasn't Christ who met him on the road to Damascus, and it wasn't Ananias who he had to go visit so the flakes can fall off his eyes. No, 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 no. It was Barnabas,
Okay,
according to
hold up, hold up.
show
Let
us.
me say something since you said that. Even
Show
though
us.
he claimed, hold up, even though he claimed to see Christ when he seen that vision, why did not
He never
Christ?
seen Christ. He never claimed to see Christ.
He did say he seen
No,
Christ.
he didn't.
You
All he
just said
saw
it.
was a bright light that blinded him. He never saw
Oh my
Christ. He heard a
God. So
voice.
okay, a voice. Anyway, if he heard a voice or whatever, he's still dealing with Christ, right? He's dealing with him, right?
So where's Barnabas
So
at?
hold up, bro. If you let me talk, bro, because I'm busting you down, bro, easily. When he supposedly heard from Christ, when he went on his way to go where he was going at, Christ's disciples ain't want to have nothing to do with him. Why Christ didn't go to his disciples and say, "Well, hey, I just talked to this man."
Brother, stop changing
Bro,
the
let me
subject.
talk,
Where's
bro.
Barnabas? Talk to me about Barnabas.
I'm
Don't go
finna
on to
tell
something
you,
else.
bro. If you let me break it down and stop interrupting me, bro, I'm finna tell you the whole damn thing. That's why you don't want me to talk, because I'm breaking it
Oh
down.
my
I know more than this
gosh.
in you,
Now
bro.
he's going on to
Bro,
another story. I'm
bro, it's the
asking
same
about
story.
Barnabas.
Bro, I'm finna tell you if you let me talk. Damn, stop interrupting me, bro. You making yourself look real ignorant right now.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Because you're going to go on to something else talking about the rest
Bro,
of the apostles. But give me
bro,
about
let me talk.
Barnabas.
It's going to Barnabas. If you let me talk, how you think he went after he went so-calledly being blinded and then he got healed? Who you think brought him in? Barnabas
Oh,
brought him in. Because
okay.
the rest of them was afraid of him. They didn't want to have nothing to do with him.
Okay.
Barnabas went to them and said he'd been changed. He's a Christian now. He saw Christ. Barnabas was the one that told them that. He was traveling with Barnabas everywhere until they had that dispute about one of the disciples. And then that's when they split. And you hear no more about Barnabas. Why? Because Paul wrote everything you read it, which he learned. And then Barnabas wrote his side and told you what exactly happened. That's why they got rid of that book and you never heard of it until how many years later? 300 years later or something like that. But he told you Christ didn't never die on the cross. He told you everything that happened. But no one wanted to hear that because that book came 3 years later and it's not in the Bible. Just like Enoch book is not in the Bible. Right. The
You
books that's
ready?
not in the Bible
So are
are
you ready? Are you
the
ready?
books that's
Are
not
you
in the
ready?
Bible exposing more information
So
than the average
let me show
Christian
you. Let
got.
me show
Even
you.
yourself, because
Let me
you're a Christian just
Okay.
like everybody else.
Okay. Okay. So
Bro, you a normal person just
let me
like the
show
rest of
you.
the
Let me
Christians,
show
bro.
you for the liar that you are, fam. Let me show you because you're saying that it was Barnabas who was the first Christian who he came across and accepted him. Well, let's see if what you're saying is true. And it says in Acts 9, it says, and Saul, yet breathing out threatening and slaughters against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest and desired of him a letter to Damascus to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near to Damascus, and suddenly there shined around him a light from heaven. And he fell on the earth and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he trembled and astonished and said, Lord, what wilt thou have me to do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told unto thee what thou must do. And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes opened, he saw no man. But they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. And he was there 3 days without sight, neither did he eat nor drink. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias. And to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayeth, and he had seen a vision. And he had seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hands on him that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, said, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he had done to the saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priest to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him the great things he must suffer for my name's sake. And Ananias went his way, entered into the house, putting his hands on him, and said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that has appeared unto me in the way as thou hast camest, has sent me that thou might receive thy sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. So as I tried to explain to you, sir, the first one he came across was Ananias. And he didn't just see the Lord, it was a voice.
Listen, bro. I say the one who brought him in. Who brought him in? Ananias then brought him to the rest of the Christians. Go to who brought him to the rest of the Christians. Bro, you try to be so slick, and you
What is
ain't
slick
at all.
about it? What do you mean slick?
You ain't do nothing what I said. I say take us to the point where who brought him in to the rest of the Christians. That's what I said. Barnabas was the one that brought him in to the rest of the Christians.
Brother,
Yeah,
the
right,
first
absolutely.
Christian he came across was
bro,
Ananias. Hold
He
on.
ain't bring him to the rest of the Christians.
The first Christian he came
Ananias bring him to the rest of the Christians.
hold on, time out. Hold on, time out.
Absolutely
Time out. The first
Right.
Christian he came across was Ananias. Ananias brought him into the faith. Barnabas introduced him to the
Bro,
rest
I
of the
ain't saying nothing
Christians.
about no faith. I say to the rest of the Christians, bro.
I'm about to get to my point. I'm about to get to my
Go to
point
who
so I
brought
can
him to
end
the
it. Hold on.
Christians, bro.
I'm about to
Damn.
get to my point. I'm about to get to
Go
my
to
point
that
so I can end it. So I can end it for you so I can expose you for your ignorance. As I
Man,
was
you ain't
pointing
exposing
out,
nothing, bro.
okay, we'll
You just a
see,
Christian, bro. You just a Christian
we'll see,
believer,
brother.
bro. You just like
We will see.
everybody else.
So
A
as I was
Bible thumper.
pointing
That's
out,
what you
hold on, as I was pointing out to you, Ananias was the one who healed him. Ananias was the one who brought him in.
Bro,
Barnabas was, hold on, Barnabas, Barnabas was the one who introduced him to the rest of the Christians.
Right.
Neither in one
Absolutely.
place, hold on,
Right. That's
neither
why
in
that's
one
what I
place
think.
here,
Right.
hold on, neither in one
Right.
place right here, nor in the whole books of Acts do we see the word Pope. Nobody is called a Pope. Anybody can bring somebody else into the faith. Hold on. There is no leader. Hold on. It's not. No, I'm showing you that you're a liar. That there is no Pope. There is not one who is set above all the rest of the Christians. We have leaders of our churches who help lead in services, but there is no universal leader. Christ is our leader. You're the one who studies European history. You're the one who bit into the European Christianity. You're the one who doesn't understand the difference between Orthodox or Protestant or Catholic. You're the one who doesn't understand the difference between the East and Western schism when the Orthodox broke off from the Catholic churches, when we were all united as one and we separated. You don't understand these. You don't even understand when the Protestants separated from the Catholic Church by Martin Luther. Hence why they're called Protestants which is another name for Protestant. They protested against the Catholic Church. Again, sir, you do not understand Christian history, and yet you want to say, "Oh, the Pope is he's the over everybody." You don't even understand what
Bro,
you're talking
listen. I made my facts known. Who
about. Okay,
rule right now? Hold on. Listen to me, bro.
I'm
Listen real
listening.
good.
I'm
Who is
listening.
ruling? Who is ruling Christianity? The Pope, right?
No, who told you that? Where is it
Bro,
written?
that's a known fact, bro. You
Oh
ask
my
anybody, bro. The
gosh.
Pope is ruling all
Oh,
of Christianity right now,
says
bro.
who? Says you?
No, a fact. That's a fact.
Show it to me.
I'm,
Where? The scriptures don't say that.
oh my
I
God,
don't
you talking about
accept
a
that.
scripture? I'm talking about real life. You talking about a
What do you mean
scripture?
real life?
I'm
What do you
talking about
mean?
real life, bro.
What do you mean?
These people
Which
wrote
which
the
let
Pope
me
is
ask you a question. Which
ruling, bro.
Orthodox church or which
Oh
Protestant
God,
church recognizes the Pope?
bro. Every church recognize the Pope,
Oh
bro.
my gosh.
Every church
You said
recognize the
every
Pope,
church?
bro. I'm
What
telling
is
you,
a
every church
what is
acknowledges the Pope.
what is the Protestant Reformation? Forget we're not even gonna go to the actual ancient history. Let's just go to the most recent history. What was the Protestant Reformation by Martin Luther, sir? Why did he protest? Why are they called Protestants? Those who
No,
protested the church
it
because
don't
they
matter.
did
It
not hold on
don't
because
acknowledge
they
the Pope,
recognized
bro.
hold on
It
because
don't. Listen,
hold
bro.
on these
Listen,
these
bro. Listen.
Protestants read the
You
Bible,
can
which the Catholic Church
a
was
lot
trying
of
to
them
suppress.
protested, bro. But a lot of them protested. But look, right now in the daytime, what
What do you
I'm
mean?
speaking as of right now, not by all of them protesting. A lot of people protested. A lot of African people protested. And look where we at right now,
No,
bro.
sir. No, that's not how it goes. Stop trying to create your own philosophy.
I'm not
Protest,
creating, bro. I'm telling you, the
Protestantism,
Pope.
brother, brother.
Why the Pope is the
Brother.
worldwide
Look,
known?
look, look,
Why is
look,
the
look. Let me
hold on,
expose
listen
you.
to what I'm saying. Why is the Pope known worldwide known the way
No, he's
he is?
not. He's not. He's not,
Oh
sir.
my
He's
God.
not. Now let me expose you for more of your ignorance. I'm gonna read to you the definition of Protestantism, because obviously you don't know the church. The Protestantism is the second largest form of Christianity, with a collective of more than 900 million adherents worldwide, or nearly 40% of all Christians. It originated with the Reformation, a movement against what is perceived to be errors in the Roman Catholic Church. Ever since protested rejected the Roman Catholic doctrines of the papal supremacy and sacraments. Do you understand what papal supremacy is? Well, let me give you the definition. Papal supremacy is the doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church that the Pope, by reason of his office as vicar of Christ and as the pastor of the entire Christian church, has full, supreme, and universal power over the whole church, a power which he can always exercise unhindered. That is what is called papal supremacy. But Protestantism is what? The rejection of the Roman Catholic doctrine of papal supremacy. You don't even understand what we
It
believe, and
don't
yet you
matter,
want to
bro.
say Protestants.
It don't matter. The Pope is right now ruling. So it
Oh
don't
my
matter
God,
what they
I
did
can't
back then. They
argue.
can rebel. They
All right,
rebelled
fam.
back
All
then,
right,
but right
fam.
now they under his law right now.
I can't
I
no
know
more,
you can,
fam.
cause
I
you
can't,
ain't
man.
that deep, bro.
I can't.
You ain't that deep.
You
Okay,
literally
okay,
said
hold on. Okay.
Protestantism
Hey,
acknowledges
okay.
the Pope,
Let me
but
ask you this. Let me ask. I'm dealing with
I'm
real
good,
life.
fam.
You're dealing with some
I'm good.
ancient
I'm good,
stuff
fam.
that came back into this time, and we see
What are you
who
talking
rules
about,
right now.
ancient stuff?
Oh,
What do you mean?
let me ask you this: Who right
I
now? Do
can't
you
even
see
do it,
any of your
man.
people? Hold
I
up. Do
can't
you
do it.
see any of your people right now in the Pope position with the
Oh
power
my
that the
God.
Pope got right now in the Vatican? Do you
You
see any of
said
your people, your Christian people, with the power that the
no.
Vatican
We
got?
don't accept
I know you
them.
don't, bro. Why do not your people have the power like them?
What do you mean
Answer
power?
that
What
question.
power does he have?
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
recognize his power. That's the point.
Oh my God.
I reject him. If
You
he had
you
power, I
you
couldn't
you
reject him.
don't even you so blind you don't even know that you recognize his power. That's how
Brother,
blind you is.
that just
You
shows
under
how,
so many
brother,
codes.
it just
You
shows
under
how
so many
ignorant
codes.
you are.
You don't even recognize the Pope power. You
Brother,
under so
what
many.
power
You
does he
under so many
have?
beliefs. He had
What
the
power?
power,
To
bro.
do
This man
what?
had a. Oh my God, this dude.
To do
I'm
what?
done. I'm ending this interview because I see that you don't literally you just
Bro,
way out.
bro,
Claiming
enter
that the
it.
Pope don't have,
Bro,
claiming
exit,
that the
bro,
Pope don't
exit.
have no power, you way off.
Continue to
You way
believe
off.
in
You
your
way wrong.
omnipresent,
You
omni
claim that the
God.
Pope
You
don't
can't
have
even
no power.
define
You see
just,
the power that the Pope
bro.
have,
You
but you
can't even
deny the man's
define what is
power
good or bad.
throughout
You said
all
that
your
you got
beliefs,
the
and you
original
believe that
Quran,
Jesus died
and
on the cross, but you
you
don't see the
try to
power that the
present,
Pope has.
you try to present
So
us the
I'm gonna
that
read this interview
pedophile.
with this
You try to present us that
intellectual
pedophile
Convo part two,
Malachi B. York's
and
work,
y'all
which is
see
all
that this dude
trash,
here don't know
and
really what he's talking about.
you follow
So
that
this interview is
pedophile,
over with.
and you try to teach us